Yo, 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 yo. What's up, what's up, what's up? Give up the rack. And hello to my fellow revolutionaries. You know who you are. You know who you are. And welcome to today's stream. It is Thursday, the 27th of November today. And we are just churning through 2025 at lightning pace here, ladies and gentlemen. Lightning pace. And yeah, welcome to, oh my God, Gum and Cheese Week in the house. That's badass. We need to have a Hollywood action movie rendition of that. Look, it's good to see you, Gum and Cheese. Squeeb's in the house too. Johnny is a successful banker who lives happily in San Francisco townhouse with his fiancee, Pauline Hanson. One day, inexplicably, she gets bored of him and decides to seduce Johnny's best friend, Mark. From there, nothing will be the same again. Interesting plot line there, Squeebalicious. Dilemma's in the house as well. Not all heroes wear capes. I am assuming that's in regards to the title of today's live stream, or part of the title anyway, which is Pauline Hanson's movie. That's right. We're also going to be having a look at the global debt crisis and try to explain that. We did a bit of that yesterday, looking into modern monetary theory, and kind of how all of that stuff works, and like how, government spend is a good thing. Government debt is a good thing because it actually stimulates the economy, and it's actually the basis for the entirety of the modern world and the modern financial system. But hey, we'll we'll uh, we'll we'll skip over that reality right now until we get into the detail, and then we're going to look at China's political system, because I think there's a lot of Western propaganda out there about what China is and what China could be, and it being like kind of this dystopian, authoritarian, hellscape. And like, let's churn through some of that propaganda today. Now, first of all, before we go any further, massive, massive shout out to Jag, who looks like he has been very busy over in Twitchland, like incredibly busy. And that is, yeah, over in Twitchland, he has been gifting subs like non-stop over there. Integer, Pedestrian on a Horse, Bronson69, Jerry Poppins. He's gifting away. It's an absolute firestorm over in Twitch world. So thank you so much. Gifting to Squeeb as well. So yeah, thank you so much, Jag, for doing all that gift subbing. I really appreciate it. And it helps a lot. It helps me a lot. It helps me produce all of this content. So I am, you are, we are a mystery, my friend. So thank you so much. Yeah, it helps a lot. I do appreciate it. We all a mystery now, remember. Yeah, put in the CC. It's funny as dilemmas. What got censored? No, I got censored. Okay, interesting. Are you in the censored comments? No, you're not in the censored comments yet. All right, so today let's just take a very interesting, apart from all the, the boring, serious stuff that we usually do, let's have a look at some interesting stuff that has taken place, I think, just yesterday. I heard some, rumors here and there, on the, I don't know, on the feed, let's say, that Pauline Hanson was, banned. Like, not only has she actually been censored, and taken out of the Senate for a particular period of time, but she was also going to premiere the trailer to a movie that she had done. She was going to premiere that on at Parliament, I think. And like, it's a pretty controversial looking movie, like, let's be honest. And yeah, she got kicked out of Parliament. No, the premiere of the trailer got kicked out of Parliament. This is it here. I'll show you a picture just so you have some bloody context and you know what I'm talking about here. But this is our very own, like, culture warrior herself, Pauline Hanson, queen of the culture wars in Australia. She's put together, or she has produced a movie, I'm assuming under her branding, But yeah, she's produced a movie called A Super Progressive Movie. And this is the trailer for it. It comes out in 2026. And so, like, it's literally just, I think, making fun of, like, progressive Australian politics and just, like, ripping on it hard. Like, hard. It's savage as. And so, yeah, she's come out with a movie. This is potentially going to be the pinnacle of the culture wars in Australia. Although I think the point is to kind of highlight the absurdity of culture wars. The irony being, or the contradiction being that like this is it. This is how you ferment the culture wars by producing stuff like this just to piss your political opponents off. But like, I will shut up. Let's just have a quick look at this because you will probably find this hilarious. So some people will just love it and some people will hate it. But I think all round it's just ridiculous and it's pretty funny. So like let's just appreciate that for some entertainment value before you start critiquing it and all that sort of stuff because that's what they want you to do. So let's just have a look at this. And for the international audience, like watch this. This is where Australian politics is at right now. There is no viable opposition party. You know, we had the uni party, the one party system that was divided between Labor and the coalition, and the coalition has just died recently. Like literally has become a non-issue in Australian politics. They may never resurrect. And so like a stepping out of the ashes of the coalition, the viable conservative slash right wing alternative in Australian politics, stepping out of the ashes is One Nation. And One Nation is, Australians' equivalent of the MAGA movement, I guess, but like, predates that. And this is, if they were going to produce a movie, this is what it looks like. Strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen.
Once upon a time, in so-called Australia, a culture war tore the nation apart. And somehow, the lefties won. And I should know, I'm the Prime Minister, Elbow. This is my land. Good morning, fellow white straight males.
Hey, big boy.
Just as the elders foretold, this is Namageddon.
I'm gay and retarded, Your Honour. I'll allow it.
That's toxic positivity. I'm sorry. In case you haven't noticed, Pete, I'm black.
Daddy, I don't believe him.
You have to believe him, honey. He's 1/16th Aboriginal. Wait, what if someone sees us?
Let the cookers watch.
I know, right?
Wow, the rainbow serpent. Sounds like a really cool gay snake. It's not a gay snake!
Like, this is it. Like, if they're trying to, say how absurd the culture wars is, like, do they not understand by doing this that this is participation in the culture wars? Like, highlighting the absurdity of your opposition doesn't do anything but to stoke the flames. But, like, hilarious interpretation. Now, this is a trailer. And like, this is a minute and 33 seconds. Could you really sit through like an hour and a half of that? I don't know. But like so far, my God. Jag, LOL, I want to see this. Like, I'm pretty sure you can pre-order tickets online. We just have to fund Jag a ticket to Australia to be in the audience when this goes down. I think it's going to be an own goal. See, there you go. Well, like, there's only one way to find out. And it's going to be on Australia Day 2026 when this movie comes out. Talk about own goals. Just let them cook. Yeah, well, they made that cooker reference just then. It's going to be something. It's definitely going to be something. I rated it in the CC section. Okay, fair enough. What did you say? What up, what up? Give it up for the Adelaide bloke who got arrested by the feds for uploading a vid of an Indian dropping a deuce. Really? That's interesting. I can't believe you got censored for that. That's crazy. Interesting. Well, there you go. I read it out for you, Gum and Cheese. So now you know what Dilemmas is all about. Interesting. So can we just re-watch that this time? I didn't want to interrupt, but can we just look at all of the tropes that are used for a super progressive movie? Eh?
Once upon a time in so-called Australia.
So-called Australia.
A culture war.
Look at this. Look at these fucking SJWs in the front here.
In so-called Australia. A culture war.
Fat and proud. They've got a darkie with a spear. Like, fuck, man. They are trying so hard just to piss people off for the sake of it. Blue-haired, feminist type. They've got it all. Look, she's got, like, tattoos and everything. Nose ring. What is this guy? Aussie, oi, oi, oi. Aussie, people draped in Aussie apparel blowing shit up. Right? This is going to be an interesting take. Right? We don't like terrorists unless they are wearing the Australian flag. All right. Okay, they got it all. Burning flags.
And somehow...
What is Naran? What's Nam? Because one of them said Nam before. Like, is that the name for Melbourne or something like that? I don't understand the reference. Someone's going to have to explain that one to me. They literally just put a black person on the screen. Is black being progressive? I don't know. Is it woke? I don't know. Apparently being black is... Yeah, it is progressive. It's super progressive. Having, like, very dark skin. Super progressive stuff. And look, like... And the left takes over. This is what they said. Like look at the background. There's windmills. There's plants on trees. Looks like generally, quite modern. Quite modern. This is what happens when the left takes over. We have sustainable energy, and we have nice architecture and green. Like they literally have plants on buildings. This is like modern as you can get architecture, but that's like lefty stuff. Hell no. Give me a corrugated iron roof and a shack. That's all I need. So good. Hey, that city looks good. Like, yeah, I'm struggling to see what's wrong with that. And like they're replacing the colonialist with an I don't know, an Aboriginal person, an elder or something, maybe.
He's one. And I should know. I'm the Prime Minister.
And like, so what's this? A rainbow church? Hey, and what symbol is that? What's the rainbow church supposed to be? I guess he's now the king of Australia. So crazy, man. Looks like a nice place. Like, this one, I'm not sure if I'd step into a rainbow church, but like that other city, integrating the like vegetation with the built environment, like, that's the height of 21st century architecture right there. I don't know if that needs to go down in the culture wars. Like green, like architecture. Very progressive of them for having such a diverse cast. It's pretty diverse. Notice the gold and the crown. Eh? Albo is one of the elites. Yeah, interesting.
Albo!
He's literally elite. He's aristocracy. Now, how's this for a trope? They've got a blue-eyed Aboriginal with like tan lines. I don't know what this is. So just like someone who's cross-dressing. They've got like, I don't know, Steve Irwin with suspenders and like, I don't know, inner city liberal douche, as the South Park people would describe it. Purple hair, earrings, neck collar, rainbow flag, leather. They've got it all, man. They've done their homework. All the gay homies love Elbow. Yeah, apparently. Elbow sleazy. Leave that queen alone. Hey. I step into the church. That is this stream most days.
Smiley. Good morning.
Are they originally light skin? No. As in like, they're making fun of people who identify. I can't.
And I
wait,
should
give me a
know.
second.
I'm the Prime Minister. Elbow.
Elbows sleazy. They're making fun of people who identify as Aboriginal because they have heritage. They have Aboriginal heritage, and said there's a lot of, I guess, people around Australia that have Aboriginal heritage, but they don't. They're not black. But they do refer to themselves as black and deadly, all that sort of stuff, because it's like harkening back to Aboriginal culture. And so what they're making fun of is there's a lot of people who I guess say in Australia that, oh, if you have, fair skin and blue eyes, even if you do have, your grandmother or something like that is Aboriginal, which is a big factor in Australia, given our history. That, oh, you're not really Aboriginal because you don't look, black. And so like, it's kind of, it's a bit of a hard slog given our history, which has literally been trying to breed Aboriginal people out. And so there was a lot of people who, come from a mixed race, like they're from mixed backgrounds because of like, certain policies. They were literally trying to, erase people. So like, they still have ties to culture, even if they don't all look the same. So like people really play on that kind of, what is it? Like a trope. I guess it's the only way I can think of it. Like they play on the fact that there are, especially in urban areas, I guess you would say, places that were hit pretty hard, like the remnant Aboriginal population has like, I guess, a lot of Anglo culture as well. Yes, the whole not really black trope. Yeah. Does Labor even want to stop the rise of the right? They seem to be doing everything to make it grow. Or like, I don't even know if Labor's doing anything here. I think like this is just all Pauline Hanson. She's doing it all. She's rocking up wearing burqas, getting attention. Sky News is pushing her. She's releasing movies. Like, who needs Labor when you have a fucking propaganda machine like this? All I can think is, who is funding this? Who is funding it? Like, is she just using all of her proceeds from her life as a politician and getting paid six figures to produce stuff like this? Is she intelligible? Is she capable of having such strategy? Or is there someone behind her that's pushing this? Like, this is really good strategy. Like the stunts, movies, like, she must have someone with a good plan. Like, this is how you do propaganda. I don't even know if you can, dilemmas, you can even factor Labor in with that. Like, they're not even playing this game. But we know he is Indigenous because he has a hat with the flag on it. Yeah. RBA energy price increase data doesn't look good. LOL. The cave looks like a vagina. Yeah. What's that about? Yeah. There's so many things that they're just doing. It's just to trigger people, right? Hey? It melts all those snowflakes out there. It's just missing the progressive burqa she wears. Yeah, where's that? Gumma Cheese Wing. They'll have Gina Reinhardt dressed as a fat crusader with an Australian flag over her armor and a chunk of coal speared over her lance. The sword has an inscription, commie tickler. Banning her movie release is Labor. Ah, that's what you mean. Okay, right. Yeah, well, like saying you can't play it in Parliament gives her something to talk about, right? It does help with that, I guess, PR campaign. Unless AI is involved, yeah, I guess. It's not a bad point, but like I think we're going to do this for Far Right Fridays tomorrow. But like she produced a couple of like mini series, you would call them, on YouTube like 3 or 4 years ago. And they're like this, but like they're turning it into a movie. And they're like 2-minute pieces, but there's like 15 of them or something. And there's 3 seasons of them. And I guess to warm up Jag before he comes to Australia just to watch the drop of the super progressive movie. We'll watch her TV series or her YouTube series of the same type. And so like, 3 or 4 years ago, it looks very similar to this. I don't know if AI was involved. but like you could easily get AI to make this shit now, right? Pauline gets ratings. The 18% that support her are hanging off every word, and the rest are watching in disgust. Ratings means money. Like, that's why this is beyond politics. This is a serious campaign. I don't even know who's. Yeah, I want to know who is funding this stuff. It's crazy. This is hilarious. This one.
Good morning,
Good morning, fellow.
fellow white straight males.
White straight males, and they're all in prison. So good. The self-deprecating white man, or whatever it is, trope, I guess you would say. This, like the self-hating Jew of like Woody Allen style. So good. They've got it all. They've got everything. They've picked everything out of the culture wars, man. Like from the super progressive side of the fence. Where's Bob Catter? Yeah, I know, right? Come on. Give me Bob Catter, please. And like, look at Pauline. She's like the guy from Jurassic Park with her Australian lapel. She's like, she's what is his name? John Hammond or something like that. She's the creator of Jurassic Park. So good. My God. This is I think I'm down with you, Jag. I can't wait to see this. I want to see what they get up to. And yeah, so they banned this. She wanted to screen this in Parliament, I think. Like, why would you do a trailer drop from a movie like this in Parliament? Not sure. She wanted to do this in Parliament, and they said no. They banned her from doing this. Yo, give up your outrage over AI voice mixing in ARC Raiders to cover up for Call of Duty having AI generated maps and being shit in general. Yo. Be right back. Need charger. All right. Hope you can find your charger. Yeah, yo, welcome. You've missed out on some incredible rage bait, or like, I don't even know what to call this. Indoctrination, but like you probably won't be a big fan of this. Yeah. That's kind of lame. Remember when racists used to wear hoods and hide their identity? We used to think that was dangerous. This new world is concerning. The jerk circling lefty scene was why it got banned. Really? What's the jerk circling lefty scene? Which one was that? Jerk circling lefties. So good. We've got our own vocabulary in here. Jerk circling is the best. Thanks for that, Fox News woman. So good. Freedom of expression. She knew it wouldn't be allowed in Parliament. It's just a good stunt to get attention on the. It's a fucking brilliant stunt. You know what? You're right. Hey, she was like, "Oh, there's no way they're gonna play this. I'll just make a big deal of it, and then I can talk it up and be like, ha, they banned me. Freedom of expression under attack." She wanted to show it in Parliament. Yeah, you're right. It's like there's some strategists there that's like working this out. Like there's some fucking intelligent people there that just understand this game. Like propaganda is just so important. Let's have a look at this. You know what? We're just going to go from fucking rage bait to rage here. Let's do the rage. I got to get it out of the way. Like I love it and I hate it. But like, let's watch some Sky News. Hey, let's do it. This is for you, Larp Jeff and Gumma Cheese Wing. This is for you, boys. I have arrived. Oh, hey, have you seen the trailer?
Now I want to go to what is really
Matt Bond, have you seen the trailer? Well, what is it called? The super progressive movie? Pauline Hanson has made a fucking movie. Has made a movie. And anyway, it's coming out on Australia Day. I don't know about you. I don't know what I'm doing on Australia Day in 2026. I thought I would be going to another protest, and a March for Australia protest, but I think I might be going to watch a movie. And maybe I can do that in the evening. I'll do two things in one day. Hey, I can do that. I can manage that. Not really, but I'd love to see it though. It's like me going to work and telling everyone I made this movie about me and you all have to watch it. Kind of narcissistic, but like that's pretty much it, right? In a nutshell. Yo, what's up? Just in time for this advertising stunt? You missed the advertising stunt, bro. Did you see it? Did you see it? We watched it. Oh my God. I don't know how to feel about it. Good job. I have arrived. Good job, Labour, but Pauline Wright has your banning 16-year-olds. But Pauline Wright is your banning 16-year-olds. What could possibly go wrong? His head looks like a thumb. Yeah, I'm not boycotting the circus. They can have my ad revenue. All right, let's do this.
World exclusive preview of the new Pauline Hanson movie.
You'll get a bit now.
The announcement of the movie-length
you
version
saw it?
of
Okay.
Please Explain cartoons, produced by Stepmate Studios in Melbourne and our mate Mark Nicholson. Well, that was supposed to happen tonight in the Parliament House Theatre. But late today, it got banned.
You're right, Jag. You're fucking right, hey. Like now Sky News can talk about it. All of her supportive base can talk about it. It was never going to happen. Hey, this is just great, adding fuel to the propaganda machine, man. She is a narcissist leading a bunch of other narcissists. Yeah, with fucking production teams, man. Stepmate Studios. Mark Nicholson unveils a new movie. Stepmates Studios. Interesting. This chat is ruthless on Sky News reporters, LMAO. As they say, any press is good press. Yeah.
On the grounds that the movie trailer and excerpts might offend people. So, in a world first, here's some of that trailer.
Once upon a time in so-called Australia, a culture war tore the nation apart. And somehow...
Does anyone know? I'm pointing at. I'm going to look at you, Indoctrinathan. You usually know all of this stuff. What is Nar? What is Nam? Is Nam the name of Melbourne or something like that? Is that what they're making fun of here? I don't know why I'm singling you out, but you usually have an answer to all this type of stuff. March for Australia protest will have hordes of angry Aussies going to cinemas to watch this movie on Australia Day. Yeah. This chat is ruthless on Sky News. The taking the knee, as Paul Keating called Costello. The more attention she gets is good. Eventually she's going to pull a stunt so universally hated. She's going to alienate her own voters. Yes. Okay, we have confirmation. Nam is... it's the Indigenous name for a part of Melbourne. Got it. Okay.
And somehow, the lefties won. And I should know. I'm the Prime Minister. Elbow! This is my land. Good morning, fellow white straight males.
Hey, big boy.
Just as the elders foretold, this is Namageddon.
Namageddon. Now I get it. Now I get what the reference is. I can't get over the straight white males fun. That's so good. Hello, fellow straight white males. Hello, internet friends. So good. Peter Credlin is such a strong trans woman, inspiring how she can climb to the top of conservative media as a powerful trans woman. Trans Tifa, maybe? Like Vietnam? Like a war zone? All right, sorry. Let's do this.
There's so much more. You're going to love it. When I caught up with Mark Nicholson late today, I noted that he would have known, of course, that the movie would be controversial, but surely he didn't expect it to be banned.
Of course he did. Come on now.
Mate, I cannot believe it. I touched down today here in Canberra, in our nation's capital. I've done my hair. I've put good clothes on, and they've sent us away, and I have no idea why. It's a super progressive movie, Chris. What's the problem? I have no idea what they're going on about. It's actually, it really just does anger me. I think they've wanted to cancel this for about a week, and they've just kept sending us emails wanting to look at the content, but not giving us any reason as to why they're doing it. And then ultimately the reason is they're concerned that it may offend a person. which like one person. And I think this just speaks to just why the whole arts industry is completely broken. That speaks to just why the whole arts industry is completely
The whole
broken.
what industry? What did he say? The whole ice industry?
And I think this just speaks to just why the whole arts industry is completely broken.
What language is he speaking? What the hell? Nam is the indigenous region that is Melbourne. Okay, thanks. Got it. We had a meeting. She's our sleeper cell. Dread Steve had a meeting. She's part of the gay agenda. When we had a meeting, she's our sleeper cell. Yeah, everyone got together and have decided. Was Chris Kenny reviewing a trailer where he was held captive as a gimp? Oh my god, tick victimhood off your Sky News bingo card, kids. Yeah, you need a weekly card, maybe even daily. Depends how much. Oh, arts industry. Thank you. Oh, David's in the house. No way. This is 2 days in a row. How you going? Welcome. Oi, what do you think about Australian culture wars? Hey, this stuff is real. I don't even think I've seen the Americans do stuff like this. Like Trump does AI generated art. You know, when you asked the other day as well, Jag, like yesterday, you said, "Oh, who is the equivalent in the American scene to like Pauline Hanson?" I'm like, I don't know, but like maybe Trump. Like Trump would do stuff like this. Trump would make a movie, like a ridiculous AI movie or something like that, and do like stunts like this. I don't know. I love that conservatives are still pointing to perceived hypocrisies, despite they have set the standard for the last 10 years that hypocrisy doesn't actually matter. Gotta say it. This guy is on Grindr. We did mention he's done his hair for the occasion. He's looking schmick. Definitely on Grindr. Grindr Canberra crashed yesterday for the viewing of this trailer. I tell you one thing, watch her poll numbers keep climbing. I wouldn't even consider myself a One Nation voter, but I'd vote One Nation over Labor and Liberal, and that's what's happening now in real time. I think that's a pretty good summation, though, is like there's heaps of disaffected voters that are just like, fuck it, I'll vote One Nation. Like especially with what's happened to the coalition, right? Trump is probably mad he didn't think of this movie first. I know this is something else, honestly. And like, so let's get some context tomorrow, Fire Right Fridays. You know, put in your calendar. We'll watch her original series to see the inspiration for a fucking full-length feature film. Johnny Sims knockoff $1 prawn actor. America doesn't do stuff like this. The summer of love riots is the culture wars Yanks engage with. All right, let's do this. Sorry.
That's the reason why we don't create anything good in this country anymore. This fear of causing offence is just paralysing the arts.
Well, it underscores exactly the point you're making in this movie, I suppose. You call it the super progressive movie, but you're actually attacking political correctness with pretty fierce and biting satire all the way through it, right?
100%. And honestly, at its core, the message of this film is actually a really, really good one. And it comes from witnessing what Pauline said in Parliament, but that none of these lefties listen to, which is that we're not saying you can't be a lefty, you can't be progressive, you can't be trans, you can't be Aboriginal. We're just saying don't act like a victim. That's what it is. And it might be a bit of tough love, and sure.
See, this is where like someone's already talked and documented the hypocrisies. I think it was in Dr. Nathan, but like this is it. This is it. The entire, you know, like let's put Australia first. You know, make Australia great again. You know, insert international conservative rhetoric here is victimization. It is playing upon the fact that you are now the victim in your own country. It's the exact same thing. Can't they not see that? Like, if he's just like, we just don't care if people are trans and whatever the fuck else he said. We don't care. As long as you don't act like you're the victim. I'm like, hello? There's a lot of that going around. Do you not understand Like it goes both ways. Like a bisexual. Like, do you not understand? Do you not see the irony? Do you see? This is verbatim out of the Turning Point playbook. Hanson hasn't had an original thought in decades. Oh, man. If Trump released this, he'd start a civil war. The more people mock One Nation, the more it grows. It's the strategy that like, yes, the more it grows. Good. I love the framing. This is high art, bro. Fat pizza was high art. Once again, Sky focuses on the wrong part of the message. No, it's this guy. Do you reckon he's just like, oh yeah, victims, victims?
A lot of it might be antagonistic, but ultimately, it's a really good story. We've got a really good message. It's a shame that they won't support it here at Australian Parliament House. I think if they actually saw the content, much like the cartoons, the actual core crux of the message is actually a really good one, and I think a lot of people would be better off experiencing it.
Well, I can't wait to see the whole thing, especially given they told you.
Don't they understand that if you don't like trans people, then don't be one? Like, it's very simple. Hey, each to their own. Hey, such a simple concept.
I'm happy to play a small role in it, my voice over my character, but...
Oh my God, you weren't joking, Gummy Cheeseman. He's in it. He's in it. Holy shit.
I'm happy to play a small role in it, my voice over my character. But I've got to tell you that even the trailer you sent us, which went for about 1:20, we played about 40 seconds of it there at the start of this interview, but we couldn't show all of that on air here because we know it would attract complaints that would go to the broadcasting authorities, and it just ties you up in process to defend your right to broadcast. So I mean, it is difficult to make politically incorrect jokes these days.
Yeah, and that's why we're fully committed to this. We're doing a completely independent run, and today's only sort of firmed that strategy up for us as well. We're going direct to consumer. I've spoken to a few of the big streamers, and there's definitely interest there on the movie, but we just want to get this movie out to people. So we're directly consuming.
Like, when they say streamers, like, they're going, what, to Netflix or something like that? Is that what's happening? Interesting. We're going straight to the streaming platforms. Fuck the cinemas. To be fair, what was the last movie they showed in Parliament? I don't know if it was a thing. That's an interesting question. Like, does this happen? Do they show trailers often? I read this as people are sick of people getting offended by words, and this is just the escalation. Now watch the left get upset about words, and then solidify the One Nation base even more.
Distributing it via the website superprogressivemovie.com. You can pre-order from today.
You can pre-order.
And we've locked in cinemas around the country. We're doing live events, so
Okay.
they can't stop
There you
us. And to be honest, I feel the weight of this. Because it's completely independent, we've got Pauline Hanson and the whole team here supporting us. Nowhere else would you see a movie like this being made. Nowhere else can make this because it's completely hijacked. The whole industry is completely hijacked. So I've got an extraordinary opportunity here. So we're going hard, but I just didn't want to squander that opportunity because you will not see this movie anywhere else. And I think it's important to show.
It says so much about free speech in this country, doesn't it? I mean, Pauline's in the middle of controversy now, of course, for wearing a garment she wants banned, and the people who want you to be able to wear it are the ones who've kicked her out of Parliament, if you can work that all that irony out. But the point is, with this cartoon, from what I've seen, the bits we won't show on this station from the trailer, it's the sort of politically...
Why do you reckon they won't show it? Like they're going after the Australian Parliament, saying, like, these woke idiots won't show this in Parliament. It's an attack on free speech. But, like, they don't have the balls to show it on Sky News. They don't have the testicular fortitude to put it up on Sky News. They'll whinge that Parliament won't do it, but they won't play the whole thing. And they, like, he's obviously be like, oh, we're going to get complaints. But it's just like, well, who's watching your shit that is going to complain about you? Like, you know, put your money where your mouth is, bro. Show the fucking trailer. Come on, Mystery Movie. We need to have a special stream for the premiere. Could you imagine? Look, do you reckon, like, we could pre-order it and then watch it all together? Clandestine viewing. Oh, my God. Fuck Fuck me dead. Can you, can only speak to my experience, but the majority of people I know are sick of dumb politics where it's just sledging each other and shifting blame. Yeah, fair enough. I think most people are pretty tired of that type of stuff and the inadequacies of liberal democratic societies. Like, hey, you're speaking to the wrong person if you think that I'm going to defend liberal democracy. You know, it's all bourgeois and it gives you bourgeois results. And it seems to get worse as the contradictions within, like, the economy get worse. So does the democracy itself. You can't handle it. It's victimhood. You're bullying me because you won't let me bully you. I want to swear, but I'll get censored. I put it in Discord. I'll read it out for you.
Incorrect humour that you see in South Park any day of the week. I think we're tougher on this stuff in Australia than they are in America, for instance.
Yeah, which is, we were talking about this in the office
I
before.
knew
It's
it.
like, that's,
I
I
knew
feel
it.
like we need
It's got a South Park vibe to it, doesn't it? Like, that's what they're going for. They're playing on that trope. South Park did it, and South Park does, and like they're borrowing kind of that theme, that style of animation, everything. Let's make Australian South Park. But like, see what South Park does. It navigates the entirety of the culture wars. I don't think it picks really a side in the culture wars. Like, and it's also got like fucking 30 years to get to that mantle of respect. Like, even Trump has had to let like South Park do its thing because it's built up again like 30 years. That's, you know, 3 decades of kind of respect, I guess you would say. And like, you know, you make one movie and you're just like, oh, isn't it outrageous? They ban us, eh? We wouldn't be able to do this. Nowhere else would it be able to do this. I swear. The uni party is losing its grip. The grandchildren of the people who built the liberal world order machine don't know how to maintain it. And it's interesting. I think the coalition is in dire straits. I'm not sure if you're saying the uni party, which includes the Labor Party kind of thing, I don't know if they're losing grip at the moment anyway. It doesn't look like it. It hasn't seemed to be that way. Not as per the last election. Things could have changed, you know, if that's what you're describing.
a freedom of speech in this country. Goodness gracious, like it would actually protect us a lot. It's happened a lot throughout the cartoon series, but this is a private event too, Chris. The idea of these people coming here and getting offended is absurd. It's an absolutely absurd idea that these are 300 super fans. They've paid money, they've gotten a babysitter, they've travelled in, they've got nowhere to come and watch the movie. But the Dendy Cinemas in Canberra, I just found out just before coming to air now, have looked after us. So we've got an alternative venue tonight that aren't a bunch of cowards, and they're going to look after us and give us a spot to be able to show the trailer, and we're going to show the first 5 minutes for the good people who have come and supported us.
Fantastic. Now, how are you going to go, though, when you try and show this in cinemas next year? Are these cinemas going to be attacked? Are the council crew going to be out there? I mean, you have this is a cartoon, mind you, animation of Uluru being blown up. How can that be taken seriously?
I know, and it's ridiculous. But these cinemas have said,
oh my God, wouldn't that have been good? They missed the opportunity to make Joel Davies the white dude in jail. Oh man, that would have been hilarious. Hello, cis white males. So good. Fellow cis white males. Kind of feels the same as ABC, really. You can see the obvious bias in both sides. Yeah, fair enough.
They're well and truly aware of what they've gotten, what they've signed on to. We've confirmed with them that that's what we want to do. These are community events. We're bringing people, like-minded people together. These are really cool events that we're going to be throwing at these cinemas. They're private events. I would be gutted if any of them pulled out. We've even gotten a cinema up in Darwin, which is incredible. Like, we're going every single capital city. We're going around. Pauline's going to be there. We've got the orange carpet. We're going to have a media wall. I'm just really excited about it because this is the first.
They've got the orange carpet out for Pauline. I think that answers your other question from the other day, then Jag. They're going to roll the orange carpet out for Pauline. That's enough from you, buddy. That's enough from you. All right, let's step outside of the Sky News world for a second. Well, they said it. They're rolling out the orange carpet for Pauline so she can attend the premiere. Oh, man. All right, let's get the normie take on this one, shall we? This is Channel 9 news.
Pauline Hanson continues to cause controversy this morning, pushing ahead with a screening of her new cartoon movie trailer, despite it being banned by Parliament. Let's go live to Today Federal Politics reporter Liz Daniels. Liz, the show went on.
It did, Sarah. Bureaucrats here in Parliament pulled the pin on a screening, fearing the trailer could cause offence. But this was down the road at Canberra's IMAX Theatre last night. Pauline Hanson pushed ahead. She was
Look, that guy, the bald dude, just said it was at Dendy's. Now this guy, these people are saying that it's at the IMAX Theatre. Which one is it? The media is not covering this story very well, can I just say? Inflation numbers are going up, power price stats coming out, censoring people for speech, cancelling visas of speakers because it might cause social division. I'm surprised people are surprised that One Nation is polling the best it ever has.
The launch of a trailer for the film adaptation of One Nation's Please Explain cartoon series. She was fresh from a Senate censure and a suspension over this burqa stunt. It means she won't be able to allowed back into the chamber to vote for the rest of the parliamentary year. All the drama hasn't deterred her potential recruit though, Sarah. An official announcement on Barnaby Joyce's defection to One Nation is expected by the end of the week.
All right, Liz, thank you.
The final sitting week in Canberra. It's a beautiful thing. It's electric. Sandwich presses and all. National Senator Matt Canavan and publisher and podcast host Sarah Lamarquand join us to discuss. Good morning, guys. Nice to see you.
Morning.
All right, Matty. So apparently you're the only one who can convince Barnaby not to have a steak on a sandwich press. How are you going with all that?
Mate, he just seems to love beef too much, doesn't it? Doesn't he? It doesn't matter how it's cooked. Who could blame him with Australian beef? But look, I want Barnaby to stay in the team. I think it's much more effective to be in our team. We've seen this week what a circus act.
So what's happening? Barnaby Joyce, the one, the only, is going to defect from the Nationals and join One Nation. Is that the latest drama on the ground? This is like the MAGA movement, like fracturing and destroying itself or eating itself alive in the US at the moment. This is what's happening. The Nationals merging with One Nation, and they're losing key players. It's like when teams trade people in mid-season. Oh man, so much drama.
One Nation is, and it might entertain, but it doesn't change anything. Ultimately, One Nation are much more about the outrage and much less about the outcome. And that's what I'm here for, to make real change, make a real difference. I think Barnaby's done that in his career as part of the Nationals Party. I'm not so sure it'll be so rosy if he goes over to One Nation.
So the National Party, for the international audience, that is our conservative party that represent regional Australia. So everything outside of like urban centres, I guess you would say. So yeah, conservative. And so like One Nation, like, I don't know. Let's just say just generally One Nation is like, yes, our MAGA movement, for lack of a better description. And they seem to kind of be drawing out the more outrageous elements of the outcomes-based section of the conservative style of politics and the Australian federal scene.
The horse is bolted though, right?
Well, that very well may be the case. I don't know. You can only ask Barnaby that, but I'll do my best to keep him part of the team. And if he's not, well, he's a political opponent. So on the football field, got to make the tackles.
The gloves are off, Matty.
Well, mate, look, ultimately here, it's a bit hypocritical of Barnaby to saying he's the somehow champion against net zero. He was Deputy Prime Minister when net zero was implemented. He signed up to the Paris Agreement, was a Cabinet Minister in the Abbott government. So, look, I mean, I think this changing horses midstream act is not going to work for Barnaby. It's certainly not going to work for our country.
I hear you are trying to woo him.
Yeah.
Well, it's...
that's the thing. I feel like that's a bit of a
sticks and
preview,
carrots,
Matt.
Carl.
It's a bit of a preview, Matt, there, I think, if Barnaby does defect and we see him in One Nation next year. I think we've seen a bit of a preview there of how things are going to play out.
So is that like how Australian politics works as well? So if the person that you voted for has come from a particular party, they can just switch their party affiliation anytime under, or does there need to be some type of a by-election in order to do that? I wonder if that's the case. I'm getting my research assistant out. I would like to know more. Unless somebody has the answer to that. Somebody's the expert, in-house expert on Australian electoral politics. All right, let's do this. There are rumours that Barnaby Joyce is going to be defecting from the National Party to One Nation as an elected representative affiliated with a particular party. Can you simply change your affiliation to a new party without going through some type of a by-election? I guess the answer is no. Like, people have become independent, like, pretty quickly, right? Without doing that. Can an elected MP simply change affiliation mid-term, or they need to resign and trigger a by-election? Under the rules of Australian Federal Parliament, once you're elected, you hold a seat personally, not on behalf of your party in a way that legally locks you to the party. That means an MP leaves their party or is expelled, they can continue sitting as a member. So it captures people that get expelled from the party. Fair enough. It really is a popularity contest, isn't it? It's about you personally. There is no legal requirement for them to resign for a by-election. Yeah, fair enough. There you go. You learn something.
I think Matty
every
knows
day.
deep down. Look, last night Pauline Hanson pushed ahead, Sarah, with a screening of her new cartoon movie trailer, which some of them are quite funny. Despite it being banned by Parliament, only Pauline could cop 2 bans in 1 week, says.
Yeah, well, this is true. No one else has beaten that record yet. I mean, as if the steak cooking scene wasn't comical enough. Literally, we don't even need Pauline's film apparently coming to a cinema near you on Australia Day next year. That's going to be a blockbuster, I predict. But Australian politics...
It's going to be a blockbuster. Channel 9 News is calling it now. There it is.
...is actually feeling like an animated parody at the moment. Who needs South Park when you look at all of this nonsense?
But the reality is she's got some serious support out there.
Of course she does. She knows what she's doing, Carl. We live in the attention economy. That's why we have people like Donald Trump elected president, because they are able to capture the attention at a time where it is very difficult to get everyone in the one place. Pauline Hanson has gone global with that. Whatever you think about it, she's definitely got everybody talking. But where Matt and I would concur is how does that actually translate into any proper policy outcomes?
Matty, it's called a super progressive movie. Will you be seeing it?
Well, I wasn't there last night, Carl. Unfortunately, we had our Nationals Christmas party, and it was an 80s theme, so I had to dress up as Maverick from Top Gun. I don't do dress-ups. I don't do dress-ups in the Senate. And I won't be giving you any photos,
We
Carl.
need
But I had a good
photos.
time with my...
It's so much better seeing pics of it. Hey, is it? I don't know. I want to see the real thing. This is more like the Dems joining MAGA, like RFK, Elon Musk, Tulsi, etc. Ah, interesting. That's how you interpret it. So, like, Barnaby Joyce is RFK Jr. Man, no, he's Tulsi. He's Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, that's better. That's. I like that one. Let's go with that one.
My wife, who luckily I married a movie star, so she fit the role
It's
really
like the
well.
beach volleyball scene.
Yeah, we discussed that and decided I hadn't spent enough time in the gym this year.
Because I did see, in dispatches this morning that you went to drinks with Liberal front bench and
Boo. We don't want to hear about the coalition Christmas party. We want to hear about the super progressive movie. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Well, look, pencil it in, ladies and gentlemen. Australia Day 2026. Do yourself a favour. Make sure you're watching the super progressive movie. We've got a lot to talk about in the advent of that occurring. Now, we're done with the drama of the day. That's really all I could. That's as far as we can go with that one. And so we're going to get a little bit more serious, I guess, now. And we're going to have a look at, we're going to continue our discussion from yesterday about national debt and where all that sort of stuff comes from. Canavan is running scared. He's looking like he's being the leading voice of his right-wing movement, but not coming to fruition. Yeah, look at how chummy he is with all these Today people. It's pretty gross, isn't it? Like, ha ha. Here I was at the at the coalition drinks last night, you know, dressed as an 80s guy. It's all horrible. It's hard to stomach. I really don't get it though. How can someone get kicked out of your Senate? How's that even possible? You know what? I would like to know that answer too. Let's play something quickly, David. Let's get across this. Actually. So what happened was she rocked up and she put a burqa on. And so Dr. Nathan supplied us with the rules for Parliament. And so part of the rules of Parliament is that there is no dress code, but the Speaker of the House has the ability to decide what is acceptable decorum, basically. And they decided that she was just pulling a stunt, she was just being antagonistic. And so they use that as a basis to kick her out. And then subsequent to that, they've decided to suspend her from the House because people think what she did was racist. So there is a racist element to it. And like, you know, being bigoted as an elected official is something that they discourage, I guess you would say. But like, this is what our Australian broadcast does. So this is our version of like PBS, I guess you would say, has to say about her being suspended. Maybe this will answer your question a little bit. Pauline Hanson suspended from Senate for 7 sitting days over the burqa
One Nation
stunt.
leader Pauline Hanson has been censured by the Senate and banned from the chamber for the 7 sitting days after she wore a burqa into Parliament yesterday. Let's get more with political reporter Stephanie Boris, who's in Canberra. Hi, Steph. So what's been happening?
Hi, Ros. Well, we have to take a step back to yesterday when this all started to unfold. One Nation leader, Pauline Hanson, entered the Senate wearing a burqa. This isn't the first time she's pulled such a stunt. She did the same thing back in 2017. She said the reason for doing so was because she wanted to debate her own private member's bill, which was all about banning the burqa in Australia. And she claimed it wasn't fair, that debate was not being allowed, and therefore that's why she was wearing the burqa. Now, she has been saying that, you know, she wasn't allowed to debate this bill. It must be clarified that any member of Parliament is allowed to put forward a private member's bill, which is what she did, but it is up to government as to which bills are debated in Parliament. Not all of them can be debated, and this one was not debated. Now, yesterday we heard from senators from across the board. They were very much telling Senator Hanson she can not act in this way. Today, what we've seen is the Senate censure Senator Hanson. A censure motion is essentially the strongest form of condemnation that can be given by other senators or MPs towards someone sitting in the chamber. So that is what initially occurred. She was then also told that she will not be able to represent the Australian Parliament on overseas delegations. So every now and then there's a group of MPs or senators, they're picked from across different parties to head to different countries.
So there's the answer, David. They all got together as a group. The senators were like, nah, she's out. She can't do this. Is this orange lady still getting paid while not being in Parliament? That's what I was saying the other day, man. When this first happened and she wore the burqa in, and they were just like, fuck it, we're finishing up for the day. All I could think about, like, what about all the working people out there that are just like, oh, look, someone's done something, you know, fucking controversial in the workplace, which fucking happens, right? And everyone just gets to be like, all right, that's it, we're going home for the afternoon. I bet you they still get paid. Fucking, where are all the working people out there? But yeah, there's your answer, David. Just, they all got together and decided that she had crossed the line, and so she's going to be suspended. That's how it works. Someone's put a motion through. They're doing the hard yarns. Somebody raised the motion. I'll second it. Wait, what did I miss? Uniparty control is how. There's even a mention of a prime minister in our constitution. Barnaby, there isn't even a mention of prime minister in our constitution. Barnaby gets filmed falling over drunk, and I'd still vote for him over Albo, Penny, or Bowen. Plus, Bowen is about to be replaced. Yeah, she does this every few years to remind people she's still racist. I don't get it. Members of parliament are supposed to have opinions. Very interesting. Very interesting. See, this is the perfect case. Are you watching this, everyone? Learn from this. We have somebody who's outside of the Australian culture wars who's like, but like, she should be allowed to do this, right? She should be able to have an opinion. And so like this transcends the Australian culture wars. Like you have Just Here to Watch a Trash Fire. He's like blatantly, he's like, this person is just, she's just trying to show that she's racist. Like that is probably a fact, but like, should that constitute her being dismissed or suspended from her duties? And so like for someone looking from the outside in, they're just like, well, like that's what they're supposed to do, right? They're supposed to do political stuff. Now, I'll give you a prime example of why this is just the culture wars, and this doesn't have material reality to it, like material grounding to it. It has material, like there are ramifications of what she does. So if she does something like this, then it can actually have consequences in the real world. But it's outside, it's not a class war thing. It's not a material struggle. This is just the culture wars. In France, they have banned the burqa. They have banned lots of religious symbology. Like if you go to school, you cannot enter the school grounds, a public education system, any type of education system, wearing any religious symbology. So like if you've got like a cross on your neck or something like that, anything that's religious symbology, like an earring that has something on it, like, you know, a crescent moon, whatever, you cannot wear it into schools. Now, if you go and speak to left-wing people in France about that, they'll be like, yeah, so what? They'd be like, this is not a culture war issue. Like for them, it's not like, oh my God, we're all racist for banning the burqa or for banning religious symbology. They see it as, and like this is the liberal project, they see it as the separation of church and state. And so like they don't have an issue with kind of banning this type of stuff because, again, they consider themselves in good liberal fashion, like liberal democratic fashion, to be a secular society. And they don't want the imposition of religion on their society. And so like for them, it's outside of the culture wars. But like here in Australia, this is heavy culture war stuff. And it's very interesting to get an American opinion on this. Really interesting. I'm a lurk while doing yard work. Hope you have fun stream, folks. Thanks for checking in. In my opinion, it's a bad precedent to set for something like this. See, this is interesting. See, the culture war really is different in different areas, and that's why it's cultural. Dilemma, as Lydia Thorpe said to burn down Parliament, hoping, and nothing happens to her. People are noticing the double standards, and Pauline knows it. We used to have slave owners in our Senate. You can't get more racist than that. Savage, yeah. None of them were ever kicked out. That's, you know, that's pretty American, though, isn't it? Like, and they were, yeah, they said some pretty crazy stuff. Like, you know, segregation was pretty acceptable for a long time. People even want to go back to that. Dilemmas there. Then there's that senator who called out, you white people, but that's okay. It can't be racist to white people after all. They should have been kicked out immediately. Who, the slave owners in the Senate? Yeah. That's stupid, LOL. Okay, I'm out. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Just think about this. Like all of this is a really good case study, I think, in the differences. Now, I'm not saying the culture wars aren't real in terms of they don't have objective consequences. Like they don't affect the material world. The ideas that come out of the culture wars do have implications. They definitely do. But like, you know, where do you want to go do you want to focus on the culture wars, which kind of just move with the trends and the times? Do you need to be focused on that? Do you need to absorb yourself in that? Is that the best way to channel your energy, or should you face kind of the class wars? Because I think the class war is the basis, is the baseline struggle. And like, don't spread yourself out too thinly, because like from country to country, all of this stuff can be interpreted very differently. But I tell you, the struggle that doesn't really change, like there's nuance to it, but the struggle maintains throughout country to country. It's borderless, is the class war. People have the same working class struggles, I would say, or very similar in the US as they do to Australia, in Australia as they do in France, and all around in that little circle there. So like, I think this is very interesting to have people in there speaking, like, people from the US. Like, this is an interesting point. In my opinion, it's a bad precedent to set for something like this. Very interesting. Very interesting. God dilemmas. Make yourself more of a victim, why don't you? There we go. There we go. All right. Enough with Pauline. Let's absolve ourselves of this one. Show me on a doll where the woke lefties hurt you. Don't worry, there's a whole movie coming out about that soon. Indoctrinated. There's a whole movie coming out about that very, very soon. Like just in case you missed it at the start, I gave a massive shout out to Jag for like doing heaps of subs at the beginning of the stream. I think even before the stream started, I think you've done like 10 subs. So like, I'm not sure if you were there for the start, but if you've been granted a sub by Jag, then like you are winning, and thank you very much for doing that earlier today, Jag. I really do appreciate it, and it helps a lot, so thank you very much. Today's stream feels like a bullet point list of why people will keep moving on to One Nation. All right, let's do this. It's cheaper for Americans anyway. Ah, savage. Yeah. And the Australian dollar, my God. Yeah, it's not standing up these days, that's for sure. All right, back to it. Now, like I said, yesterday we spent a bit of time talking about this phenomenon in modern monetary theory about, like, what the fuck is debt? Like, how all the countries around the world at the moment are, like, all complaining about debt, like debt crisis. It's absolutely out of control. Japan's fucked. The Americans are like, what, $30 trillion worth of debt last time I checked. We in Australia have significant debt obligations. The UK, massive debt obligations. So like the primary question here in all of that, and we spent a good portion of yesterday going through this kind of myth and unpacking this myth that it exists in modern economics, where everyone's just like, yeah, the only way to fix the debt is to manage a country's economy and like have government policy, and the ethos is run it like a household. If you were running a household and you don't have money to spend, then you don't spend money, right? Which is, it's funny because that's exactly what households do. That's exactly what households do. Households use credit cards, and like people will spend a lot of their time actually putting everything on the credit card and racking up enormous debts, and like with money that they can't spend, and then they spend a lot of time in financial difficulty. But like, let's just take that out of the equation for a second. There has been a large understanding, a common sense notion in the world, especially in all the free market economies out there, that like it's just common sense. It's smart to manage the government's fiscal policy, monetary policy, like you would run a household. And so like, I think this type of logic has been very pervasive, and people have even used it to, vote in particular political parties for ages. They've gone with people that have conservative economic outlooks for a long time throughout the neoliberal era, because it just makes sense, right? If we don't have enough money as a country, then we cut spending. When we make those savings, then like the economy will get better because we'll pay off our debts, and then we'll have a surplus, and then we can spend that money on buying shit. And it's just like, yeah, but we need shit now. And so like they people think that logic, the household budget logic, applies to governance. And we spent a lot of time yesterday debunking that theory, because it is fucking nonsense. Governments aren't households. Governments differ to households because the government has its own private bank. They have central banks which can print money on request, and then they use that money to spend on services and things that are needed in the economy, which then stimulates the economy. So if the government prints money to pay some type of company, let's say, or governmental organization that provides goods and services to the people, they pay that money to them to provide said goods or services, and then they employ people in turn to provide said goods and services, and they do the same again and again, and that money infiltrates society. They don't get that money because they collected the taxes for it the last financial year. The taxation system doesn't really keep up to date with government spending. So like government spending is predicated mostly on the government approving a budget. And we've just seen this in the US recently. The US went through this period where they shut down the government for 45 days at the federal level because they couldn't approve the budget. They couldn't agree on what the budget was going to be for, the following year. Now, once that budget is approved, though, in most of the free market systems, right, once they get that budget approved, then they go with the budget in hand, and they go to the central bank and they're like, okay, this has been approved by government, please give us the money for it. The central bank gives them the money, and then they start disseminating that into the various accounts of all the people that need to be paid for the goods and services they have recently got approved in the budget. The taxes come after, and taxes really, from the perspective of these modern monetary theorists, is actually an inflation device. If you're going to just start pumping all this money into the economy, and now it all exists out there because the government has literally just created out of nothing to pay for goods and services to stimulate the economy. Taxing actually reduces the amount of money in circulation. It brings the money that's out there, it takes it out of the economy. So it ensures that there isn't just like a crazy level of money out there all of the time chasing, fewer goods in the economy. If they shrink back the monetary supply out there through taxes every year after they have got their budgets approved and like flooded the economy with cash to pay for things to stimulate the economy, the taxes help to gauge inflation. That's the theory of modern monetary theory. But it's really important to understand, I think, that like if you've ever thought, or if you've ever had an argument with someone, or if you've ever heard someone say something like, oh, well, governments shouldn't spend money they don't have, like kind of thing. Well, like, it's not a fucking house. It might make sense for you to save your money and be thrifty or frugal. It might make sense for you because then you can pay down your debts, which, you don't have a private bank at home that will just give you money for every time you want something. You have to find that money. Usually, working people will find that money by going to get a job. They get a job, they work for somebody else, and they trade their labor power for some monetary compensation, and then they can use that to pay down their debts or purchase things, exist in the economy, all that sort of stuff. So governments, households, completely different. Governments can print their own money. They can ask for that money, and they can literally pay off their own debts by printing more money. They can tax people. You as a household, you can't just turn around and tax people to get money kind of back into your household or something like that and reduce the supply out there. It just doesn't work. So the logic is flawed. And so today we're going to have a look at a guy called Yanis Varoufakis. So I'm not sure if you've ever come across Yanis before. But Yanis is, I think, a top economic thinker. I think he's explains things really well. And like I like his theories generally, and like he explains how the world works pretty interestingly because he's been up there and had some pretty important roles throughout the world. Actually, he's been like a economics lecturer in Australia. He's been a finance minister in Greece. He's like tried to tackle the European Union from that position, and like he started his own political party in Europe. DM25, which is trying to kind of democratize Europe better. He's done a lot of things as he's a prolific writer as well. He came up with the idea of techno-feudalism. You know that if you've known this channel for long enough, I speak about it often. Solar Bear, afternoon all. Yo, yo, yo. How you going? And you missed some interesting stuff earlier. You might have to go back and watch what Pauline Hanson is up to. Pretty hilarious. Where's my reparations? I'm 1/33rd Aboriginal. Are you really? Or is that a joke of some sort? Did I miss it? Yeah, so we're gonna watch some Yanis because Yanis is gonna explain something that I kind of used to question. I still don't understand it completely. I think this stuff is like modern day, like sorcery, all of this stuff, right? Like honestly, it's modern day sorcery. Like how the world financial markets work and like who owes debt to who. But like there is this perception out there, and like I think most people rightly have this innate feeling is that when someone says, you hear people say, oh, our government's in debt, like, you know, trillions of dollars of debt or something like that, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of debt. You're just like, in debt to who? Like, who the fuck do we owe money to? I can't remember saying that like we, you know, should borrow money off these foreign companies or like, you know, domestic corporations or interest groups. Like, who the fuck owns our debt? It's something that I think a question that plagues many people out there, and he goes a long way to describe it. So let's have a look here. You know, Yanis was senior economics advisor and wrote an economic system for Valve and Steam. Yes, he was in there because he talks about like horizontal company structures, and we actually listened to him talk about his time at Valve, and like he would go around and like work on different projects, and like it wasn't like you have this neat hierarchy kind of thing. And you kind of work in the office kind of autonomously, and yeah, like I said, in a horizontal structure. And if you want to hire people, you just like kind of go along to like interviews and, you know, sit on boards or like panels and stuff like that. It's crazy. So then is the real metric we should be looking at debt to GDP? Interesting. That's an interesting question, right? The debt to GDP ratio. It's a good one because that's what I've wondered as well, because like these modern monetary theorists, they do speak about that. They're just like, okay, you know, debt is a good thing because debt is private wealth. Because if you have government debt, that means people want to invest and buy bonds of the government because they know it's a safe return. And so they invest their money in the government. The government uses that money to spend on shit. And so it's good. But like there must be a tipping point though, because if the government does have a lot of debt, it still has to pay interest to people. And does it spend more of its money, it's more of its GDP servicing the debt? Or does it like use its GDP for other things? Like, does it use the money that it is creating just to service the debt? So like, I think there is a point, yes, the ratio between the debt and how much money the government has to spend servicing the debt from the economy, that is just ridiculous. And so like from what I understand though, and this is the other trick of modern monetary theory, that like seems like it's magic, and like it's funny that we've just been indoctrinated to think like this, but it seems like magic, but it really is just, if they have debt, the government can also create money. So it could literally, like, just say the US has $30 trillion worth of debt. They could literally mint a coin. So I believe from the ideas of modern monetary theory, they could mint a coin, like the government, because in the US, the Federal Reserve is separate to where they mint money. So they mint coins. So the Federal Reserve takes on the government debt and like issues the bonds and stuff. And so like the government, not the Federal Reserve, but the government could mint a coin that says $30 trillion on it and then walk it over to the Federal Reserve and be like, we're paying you back. We're paying back all the debt for all the money that we borrowed from you. And that could literally cancel out the debt. Now, what we understand from the modern monetary theorists is, no, you need a little bit of debt. You want some debt because that is private wealth and that helps stimulate the economy. But I think outrageous levels of debt are a bad thing. So yeah, it's debt ratio. It's the debt to what? Like, which is sustainable. Like, how much should the government be spending on servicing their debt? Like, how much should they be paying in interest, basically? Yang still had his blog up on the website from his time there that details his vision and plans for the future of Steam. Gabe is still using that document. Very interesting. There you go.
I want to talk to you about something that sounds like a riddle or perhaps a magic trick. Every major nation on earth is drowning in debt. The United States owes $38 trillion.
Where's Anton? Anton would have a opinion on this. Other countries like China, etc., buy the government bonds, thus owning the debt. Yeah, but they're not the only ones. And like, this is prolific. Like, it happens everywhere. Every country is buying everyone else's. It's like completely incestuous. Like, everyone's on this one. And like, everybody owns everything of everybody else's. So it's a really mental financial orgy out there. And like, someone's going to have to cut through it at some point.
China, 18 trillion. 38 nation on earth is drowning in debt. The United States owes $38 trillion. China, 18 trillion. Japan carries debt worth 230% of its entire economy. The United Kingdom, France, Germany, all deeply in the red. And yet, somehow, the world keeps turning. Money keeps flowing.
What?
Markets function. So here's the puzzle that keeps people awake at night. If everyone is in debt, who exactly is doing the lending? Where does all this money come from? It's a perfectly reasonable question.
It is.
When you borrow money from a bank, the bank has that money. It came from somewhere: depositors, investors, the bank's capital. There's a lender and a borrower. Simple.
Simple. Good question. It depends on how you define national debt. Gross debt, net debt, federal only, all governments. But there's a current estimate for Australia's federal government. The most recent data shows the net debt at about 543 billion as of August 2025. Gross government debt reached about 1 trillion in this financial year in Australia, if you're wondering what I'm looking at here. I'm just trying to figure out what Australia, as a share of GDP, here's that ratio that you're talking about. Net debt currently sits around 43% of GDP. That's interesting. So if we spent nothing for like 2 and a bit years, we'd pay off the debt. Interesting.
But when we scale this up to nations, something very strange happens. The arithmetic stops making intuitive sense.
Debt jubilee. See, we've talked about this a lot, right? Debt jubilee. I'm an advocate for debt jubilee, but like, modern monetary theorists, like, if you want to keep capitalism going, they're like, no, you don't want to do debt jubilee. Don't cancel out the debt because it's private wealth. It seems it's about manageable debt, which seems like a neoliberal kind of response to me, because like, the neoliberals have all been about, oh, we need manageable debt, and so they've instilled austerity. Now, the difference I think between modern monetary theorists and neoliberals is, like, the neoliberals say we need manageable debt, everyone, let's cut spending, but the modern monetary theorists are like, no, that's just wrong. That's really wrong. You need to spend more. That'll stimulate the economy. You get more money coming in. And like, that'll, you can bring down the debt by value creation, not being a stingy fuck. But like, I guess that's the difference there. But like, debt jubilee, maybe not. Maybe just print some money, pay off half of your debt and keep the other half. And just manage it well after that. But like, don't eradicate it. That's not the same as household debt though, as we know now. Like, households aren't fucking governments. So like, debt jubilee for all the private citizens out there. That's I'm changing my tune Debt jubilee for all of the working class. And like, I'm going to keep it there.
Walk you through what's actually happening, because the answer is far more interesting than most people realize. And I should warn you, once you understand how the system really works, you'll never look at economics the same way again. Let's start with the United States, because it's the easiest case to examine. As of October 2025, American federal debt hit $38 trillion. That's not a typo. 38 trillion. To put that in perspective, if you spend $1 million every single day, it would take you more than 100,000 years to spend that much money. Now, who holds this debt? Who are these mysterious lenders?
Oh my God, this is AI Yanis Varoufakis. Are you looking at this? He doesn't really speak like this normally, I swear. This is a fan-made channel not affiliated with Yanis Varoufakis or any political party, organization, institute. The videos are inspired by Yanis Varoufakis' public statements, ideas, and analysis. A synthesized voice is used and does not belong to Yanis. Visual lip syncing and dubbed narration are included solely to enhance clarity. Oh my God. Our aim is to present Yanis Varoufakis' economic and geopolitical perspectives in a way that is accessible and understandable for a wider audience. We're watching AI slop. Holy shit. I don't know how I feel about this. Does anyone have an opinion on this? It sounds like it. It's not even him. What the fuck? It's not even Yanis. It's robot Yanis. He's out there so much in the public realm that someone could just rip him off and just be like, can you write me a script of what Yanis would say? It's so much like what he would say. I don't like this. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this either. Fuck. Oh my God. Fuck, it's not Yanis. That was really weird. You can see the way that he like talks there.
It would take you more than 100,000 years to spend that much money. Now,
yeah, that's not his natural. Like that was weird, man. Whoa, is there a word for this? Fuck, that's the word. You just got AI slopped. Yeah, I did. I can't believe that. I was like, let's just watch this and check it out. Because we have investigated this stuff before, this phenomenon about where is the debt? Where's the debt coming from? I was really hoping to get that summarized by him. Oh my God. Wow. But like they've, you know, when you have a look at people, I don't know if people have noticed this. You might not have, if you're not, unless you're content creating. What you can do is you can collab with other channels. Who's the collab here? Oh, it's Sharpline and Brightline. I thought they were collabing with him. Who is Sharpline? Fuck, man. The Sharpline. There's no info. They just do Yanis slop. Whoa. Whoa, it's a Yanis slop channel. Look at that, 156,000 views one day ago. What would Yanis say about this? They take his voice, they script something from him, and like they get 277,000 views 2 days ago. Interesting. What would Yanis say about this? Level of unethical, 1 to 10? Fuck. Well, like, if he knows about this, fine. But like, what they're doing is they've collected his body of work and reproducing him. Like, are these his opinions or an algorithmic determination of his position? Are these his actual words though? That's the question. I don't think it is, because what they've done is, like, in fairness, they've been disclaimer, and like most people don't even do that. In fairness, the videos are inspired by Varoufakis' public statements, ideas, and analysis for educational and informational purposes only. A synthesized voice is used and does not belong to Yanis Varoufakis. So I think it's just they get his body of work, churn it through, like, I don't know, Gemini or something like that, and then say, can you pretend to be Yanis Varoufakis and talk about national debt. And then they'll just spit out a script, they'll run it through a generator, and the rest is done. If the stream dedicated to combating tech bros just got duped by AI, what else have we been duped by? Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, look, I prefer to hear it from him. That's the thing. Or him endorse it. But like he's so prolific that you could easily interpret what he says. But it's not the same thing. I don't care if they're using an avatar of him as long as they are quoting his words verbatim. Yes, but that's not the case here. This is not a recording of him like on the radio that they've just... If that was the case, if they had like taken him from the radio, right, and then just put AI to generate his face so it's something to watch while you're listening, then I'm fine with that, yeah. But this is not that. This is a machine learning. It's like an algorithmic interpretation of what his positions would be in explaining government debt. Now, I've heard him talk about this stuff before, and so far, that's exactly what I've heard him say about these issues. But it's not the same, man. It's not the same, man. If the stream dedicated to combating tech bros just got duped by AI, what else have we been duped by? This is interesting. Like his voice is super spot on though. It's just the visual. Soon, you won't even be able to pick the visual. It was just the way he was like doing a weird tick. I've seen Professor Wolf talking about this issue in the intro to all of their vids recently. It seems like it's pretty widespread. What they're saying, like, what was he saying? I am the real Richard Wolf. Will the real Richard Wolf please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up. No, I'm not going to do this. I'll find another piece that we can talk about, like national debt and all that sort of stuff. I'll find another piece for another day. I'm not going to. Yeah, I can't watch AI slop. Varoufakis. Like unconsciously. Like if I wanted to do this, then fine. But I do feel duped by this. 100%. And like everyone's like happy. Thank you, Yanis, for explaining so well. Your style, knowledge, integrity, unparalleled. Like this is his work, but it's not him. Don't say thank you, Yanis. Thank you, Yanis's AI doppelganger. One of the best talks from Yanis, as usual, but it's not Yanis. It's not Yanis. I'm glad you made this video. It reminds me of my transformation from nobody to good home. A champion of financial truth. Keep up the good work, Mr. Yanis. Fuck, man. And look, they're killing it as well. Like this has got 250,000 views in 2 days. In 2 days. That's the level of unethical there. You asked Jag what's unethical about this. Like, are they doing this to spread the work of Yanis Varoufakis, or are they doing it because like that's a lot of fucking ad revenue right there? That's heaps of fucking ad revenue. They are killing it, whoever's doing this. Talking about levels of unethical. And I feel dirty and not in the good way. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. Yeah, they are potentially profiting hard on this. Yeah. Like hard. Like 200, like he's so influential. People are like, fuck yeah, I'll watch this. Fuck, man. The channel shares his insights with respect to his work without any intent to mislead or impersonate him. Hello? Hello? Who knows if any of these comments are humans either? Oh my god, it's like dead internet theory. It's coming out. Fuck. This is crazy. I wonder what 4AS would say about this. I have to talk to him later. Fuck. This is bound to happen. This is going to happen a lot more. And I want you all, when we're watching this, if you're not just lurking, to keep your eye out for this type of stuff. Like, we've caught it before. We're just like, oh, wait a minute. Listen to that monotone voice. This is AI slop. But it wasn't the voice this time. You know, I think we've had enough mystery videos to create AI generated videos of you interviewing famous people. Yeah, fucking why not? Eh? It's we Diary of a CEO mystery style. Just have me going after Jeff Bezos. Perfect analysis, Mr. Varoufakis. Thank you for your video. Our intention is not to mislead. I don't know, man. Fuck me. Probably why they have the disclaimer, I guess. Only 11.5k followers, but hundreds of thousands of views because of Giannis's likeness. Yeah. Give yourself credit. You picked up on it pretty quick. That video is slick. No, look, I'm glad I picked up on it. I just still like, fuck. This is a realization point because, you know, this is way more prolific than we give it credit for. And there will be a point at which we won't be able to just be like, oh my God, this is like, soon you're going to have like, they're going to have some official stamp from Giannis being like, yes, this is me. You know, like that'll be the only way to tell. So it's just a scary realization that like, here we are. And soon we won't know exactly what's going on. I was thinking while he was talking, I was like, fuck, his bookshelf is weird. Like, who has a slanty bookshelf like that? I wonder if that's part of it. Like, if he actually has a slanted bookshelf or not. I see people fall for more obvious AI stuff. Yeah, we've caught out some funny AI stuff before. But, like, this is interesting. This is interesting. Like, this is where we're going. The internet is... Well, social media, anyway. Even then, you will always be second guessing yourself on what is real or not. Yes, oh my God. Is this real? Am I real? Oh my God. So good. Fuck. Okay. Fair enough. I'm going to leave it there with that one. All right. So the other thing that I really wanted to touch on today, because I thought this was absolutely fascinating and I want to finish it with all of you, is there is so much propaganda out there on China. And like the usual story about the propaganda with China is like China evil. Or like not China evil. I think that wall has been broken down a little bit in the West. But like China, like dystopian authoritarian state. Like, you know, 1984, but with fucking bullet trains and like smart technology. But like, there is a piece by Breakthrough News and they get somebody on to speak about like how China works politically. Is it authoritarian or not? And I think that's a question. And like, I fall prey to this all the time. And like, if you go back through the years of watching my content, like I would say the A word all the time in relation to China. Like, yeah, it's authoritarian. Like, you know, but like, what does that mean? Are there degrees of authoritarianism? Are there degrees of democracy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So this video, they try and break down what China's political system is like. And you never really get this type of insight. So I thought it'd be nice to all watch this together. I remember seeing a video where a guy was sitting in a room like this and the people in the photos in the back had no faces. LOL. China. People would say how controlling China is, but look how the turns have tabled. But like, yeah, right? So like the A word is consistently used in Western discourse against China. So like it's, oh yeah, look, it's really good, but it's authoritarian. And so like, what does that even mean? What does authoritarian mean? Does authoritarian just mean it's not Western style democracy? So if something's not Western democracy, then it must be authoritarian. Authoritarian, it must be bad. And so let's get a bit of an understanding of how China runs its political system. And like I've done research on this recently myself. I didn't realize exactly how the CPC the Communist Party of China, not the CCP. Apparently that's propaganda too. Like I heard them say that when I was like kind of screening this piece. But like, yeah, they call it the CPC. So like if you want to be politically correct, you call it the CPC, not the CCP. But I guess that's probably maybe too technical. But yeah, their political system or their style of democracy is still very much democratic. You could argue it's probably more democratic than like liberal democratic societies, depending on how you fucking gauge it. So let's get an understanding of like how they run the show. Oh, I saw this vid and read most of the article. It's pretty good. Yes, there's an article associated with it. So you've read the article? Because that's the other thing that I wanted to have a look at, the actual article that goes with it. It's from like Progressive something. I can't remember what the name is. But it's in here actually. Let's have a look. Yeah. You read the article. That's crazy. I haven't had a chance to do that. So this is the article that this piece is based on. So there is, I don't know, some type of media outlet that has put together a piece trying to describe what China's political system is like. And, you know, I guess break down some of the Western propaganda on how it actually works. So it's Progressive International. Okay, for building the future, a research collection on contemporary socialist construction. Paul Wagen and Jason Hickel look at the concept of the whole process of people's democracy in China, a complex system of political participation, grassroots governance that is a mainstay of the process of Chinese modernization. It's like, this is the article that kind of explains the whole thing. I'm not going to do it to you and like read the article, but like, you know, I'd suggest that you, if you're interested in this type of stuff, you go and read it yourself. But we'll get the guy, one of the authors of this article, to kind of explain how China kind of works. Yeah, Progressive International, what a domain. Yeah, what a domain. And let's get a view of this, because I think it's kind of fascinating how kind of indoctrinated we are in the West to just dismiss the entire system without wanting to understand it at all. Hey, if Hassan says it's cool, it must be. I'm sure a lot of people that electrocute dogs thinks China is the bee's knees. Savage takedown. People often use it in a way where government enforced laws that go against freedom-like values, from how I see it used. Yeah. Oh, sorry. People would say how controlling China is, but look how they turn the tables. People often use it in a way where government enforces laws that go against freedom. Is that article linked in Discord? No, it's pulled from this piece of propaganda. Here, let me dump it in the Discord for you. Oh no, actually, Avalava's just put it in there. He's put the website actually. Let me give you the link. I'll put it in. You wouldn't read about it for you. That's the actual article. If you want to go and have a look at it in your own time, some homework for you. All right, let's have a listen.
And before we get into like the more granular details about, you know, this consultative democracy and elections, I was wondering if we could take a step back and could you just give,
Professor,
you know, could you give a picture of what are the major differences that you see between China's model, its model of democracy, and the democracy that we're used to, the Western liberal model?
Yeah, you know, often when you raise the question of socialist democracy, there's, of course, a very important democratic exercise in Cuba that many people talked about a few years ago, when the entire country effectively worked together to draft a new family code for the country. Really impressive process. And whenever you try to talk about these issues in the West,
what the fuck is that? I'm going to do this a lot, so I'm sorry if you're trying to listen, but I do want to try and understand what the fuck they're talking about. what was the family code in Cuba? And how was it drafted using the whole nation in a consultative process? Can you very briefly describe this? The Cuban Family Code refers to a set of laws governing family relations in Cuba. There have been two major versions, the 1975 Family Code and the 2022 updated expanded Family Code. You're referring to the 2022 Family Code. Okay. What the Family Code was, the 2022 Cuban Family Code is a comprehensive law regulating marriage, divorce, parental rights, adoption, elder care, and family responsibilities. It's notable because it legalized same-sex marriage and same-sex adoption, recognized women's domestic labor and care work. Holy shit. Expanded children's rights, right? No social media bans, strengthened protections against gender-based violence, recognized multiple family forms, including extended and non-traditional families. It was drafted through nationwide consultative process. Cuba used a multi-stage participation process involving the entire population. Expert drafting commission. A team of legal scholars, sociologists, gender specialists, and judges prepared an initial draft. Mass popular consultation, nearly 6 million participants. From February to April 2022, the draft was taken to the public. 79,000 local meetings were held across workplaces, schools, neighborhoods, and community organizations. Citizens could propose amendments, objections, or changes. Every comment was recorded, cataloged, and aggregated statistically. Revising the draft based on this public feedback, the National Assembly revised about 60% of the articles directly based on consultation. National Assembly approval. The revised code was debated and approved by Parliament. Cuban voters were asked whether to adopt the final version. Result, 66.9 voted yes. The code became law shortly after. That is pretty participatory, kind of figuring out of family law as well. That's interesting. That wouldn't usually dominate, especially in a bourgeois society. Family law relations. Family law and legislation. It's not particularly something that goes down in a market society, is it?
West, you're often met with this kind of template response, which is, well, you can only vote for the Communist Party, or you don't have elections, or there's no democratic choice because you only have a single political vehicle, which is the Communist Party. Now, first of all, that's not true of most socialist countries, most countries that would describe themselves as socialist. But second of all, there's I think fundamental misunderstanding of what it means to have a revolutionary state. Because this idea that one person has one vote and there are many different parties and each party reflects a particular set of preferences is all very well and good. But within capitalist societies, state power is run in the interest of capital. And that is reflected in the structure of party politics. And so, okay, you might have two parties like in the US, or you might have dozens of parties like you have in some European countries. But to a greater or lesser extent, all of those parties are fundamentally committed to the project of capitalism, to sustaining it, to nourishing it, to greater or lesser extents, and increasingly to greater extents, we're seeing now the very fragile social democratic consensus in Europe, being dismantled effectively in front of our eyes in the interest of remilitarization. So,
more and more, I think we are in the simulation. Just look at the elections in Namibia. LOL. What happened? I don't know the reference. Yeah, that thing really freaked me out with the fucking Giannis one. I was like, shit. We are in a simulation. My God. Look at this guy, this outrageous progressive over here, saying that the bourgeois system or liberal democratic societies, they are effectively political systems set up to service capital and the interests of capital. Crazy. Goron Squad. Evening again. Good evening. have you been here before? Have you been in the chat? Let me know if this is your first time. You have said evening again, so if you have been here before, I do apologize. All right. If you're wondering what we're doing, we're finding out and cutting through the propaganda about China and trying to figure out actually how their political system works. So far, just scathing assessment of Western political system. It just services capital. Fun fact, your name Mystery is exactly how you write mystery in French. Yes. Yes, it is. And that is intentional. And like, it sucks because when you type it into like Google or something, it just comes up with all French stuff. I was like, oh, this'll work, right? Like it'll be unique, but like it still just comes up with like Cirque du Soleil. That's all it comes up. Yeah, I was there last week, was my first. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. And actually, all the people that are watching this on YouTube right now, I know if you're probably lurking, this might be difficult, but like if you're watching on YouTube, can you just hit the like button? Hit it right now. Because it helps with search and discovery. I don't speak French, no. Like I know I can understand like a tiny bit. But yes, I do like referencing my French culture from time to time. Give it a Google. It's worth it. What? Give what a Google? Mystery and Cirque du Soleil. Try that one. Yeah, the article is reading like someone who has understood Marxist theory, talking about how our current democracy in the West is not, in fact, democratic or only serves the capitalist class. Yeah. Outrageous assessment.
You don't even really have a choice of social democracy anymore. You have a choice between a number of parties that are committed to a project of neoliberal reform of putting social services in the chopping block. Not only that, but the mainstream media is, of course, controlled primarily by capital and in many cases owned directly by billionaires who have their own interests. And we saw very clearly in the case of Jeremy Corbyn, where even someone who, is a social democrat but presents a threat to capital is systematically attacked by the mainstream media and refused a fair hearing, refused, airtime, refused spaces in debates. And so you have within capitalist societies a system that is deeply distorted by the interests of capital. And where any time any alternative, systemic alternative has emerged in the form of, militant trade unions, communist parties, revolutionary groups, these groups have been very severely repressed and in many cases saw their leadership assassinated, imprisoned, and so on. When you have
I love when they start talking about like how there's viable options for political alternatives potentially within Western society, so bourgeois systems. They go cut straight to a picture of U.S. Congress. They're just like, yes, they were suppressed or assassinated. It probably wasn't exclusively these guys, but they would have been melded with the deep state agencies to carry out said assassination. Oh, Google, sorry, right. The US more closely resembles an oligarchy than democracy. Damn, anti-US propaganda. Google them Namibian elections. Okay, fuck, what happened? Namibian politician Adolf Hitler likely to win election? What the fuck? What's this? Is this legit? This is from the Jerusalem Post, J Post. We're getting Israeli news now. Unless you have another fucking suggestion for me. Adolf Hitler? Namibian politician Adolf Hitler? Unona? Yunona is anticipated to win a second local election after he received 85% of the votes during the 2020 elections. Serving on a regional council, the 59-year-old Swapo Party member is anticipated to continue holding the favor of the majority of local voters in the Punjab constituency. German dictator-inspired name and Berlin's history in Namibia. While he admitted to German newspaper Bild several years ago that his father had named him after the infamous genocidal German dictator, he claimed he probably didn't understand what Adolf Hitler stood for as a child. I saw it as a totally normal name. Is this serious? So, like, he's not a Nazi. He just he was unfortunately named by his father. Is that right? Is that what we're seeing here? You should listen to the videos you stream at 1.25. Just my 2 cents. Oh, right. You want me to speed it up a bit? I guess I could do that. Like, especially for the longer ones. I've seen some RW people make videos on this guy recently. Interesting. Like, is he a Nazi though? Or is he just named poorly? It wasn't until I was growing up that I realized this man wanted to subjugate the whole world. I have nothing to do with any of these things. Crazy. Great name recognition though, right? Talk about branding. China has over 1.4 billion people. There's absolutely no way a representative multi-party democracy along Western lines could possibly work. They'd have a House of Representatives with like 2,500 members. They do have, a Politburo of a lot of people anyway. But like, yeah, I don't know if the multi-party style system is what they're going for. I think they're going for efficacy, to be honest. Crazy. All right, back to it. All right, so you want to go 1.25. This is too slow for you. Let's have a crack. Yeah, this is real life. Are you sure we're not in the simulation?
Society that underwent a process in which the working people rose up and overthrew capital, assassinated, imprisoned, and so on. When you have a revolutionary society that underwent a process in which the working people rose up and overthrew capital, it's the working people that constitute the state. And so the job of the Communist Party is to be a vehicle that carries the subjectivity of that social majority of the working class. And so if you move now to China and we think about this claim that you'll often hear from people that, okay, well, maybe China has elections, but you can only vote for the Communist Party. Again, that's not true, and we can talk about that later. But the Chinese Communist Party, or the Communist Party of China, has over 100 million members. There are about 70 million members of the Young Communist League.
Isn't that fucking mental? 100 million members. Like, so if you want to get involved with politics, this is where like the politics sits. Okay, there's a Communist Party which is largely in charge. But like, if you want to be political, then join the Communist Party. Like, most people in liberal democracies, like, they don't join a party, and that's by choice. And so, like, if you really wanted to get involved in politics apart from just voting or having the opportunity to vote, like, if you really want to be political, then join a political party or form a political party and then participate in the process. Like, in China, if you want to be involved in politics, then go into the Communist Party and get involved. And there's 100 million people. Can you please check some ratios for me? There are 100 million people involved or who are members of the Chinese Communist Party. Can you give me this as a percentage of their overall voting age population? And can you compare that to how many people as a percentage, voted in the US presidential election. Also compared to also as a ratio of how many voting aged Americans could have possibly participated. I hope that makes sense. Shall we let it think? Or just let it up answer now? Fuck, it's really thinking about it. $100 million people is crazy. Fuck. That's 4 times Australia's entire population in like actually part of the Communist Party, so they can participate. Communist countries are great. That's why everyone moves from Western countries. LOL. You know, that joke, which is like, it's funny, you know, but like that joke might not last forever or for too much longer anyway. And the numbers on the latest estimates, it states the assumptions, calculations. CCP membership, 100 million. Total China population, 1.4 billion. That's fucking crazy. Voting age, 18 plus. So that's a percentage. So that's 8% of the population. So roughly 1 in 11 adults in China are members of the CCP. 8% are involved in politics, let's say. United States presidential election turnout was vote cast 156 million. That's fucking crazy. Voting age population is 264 million people. So that equates to a 65% turnout of the voting population. So they have 65% of people that could have voted in the US, let's just say, like roughly speaking, 65% of people that could have voted participated, chose to participate. In China, 8.9% of the potential voting population chose to participate. There you go. I honestly love Western democracy when it's done right. But I look at Nigel Farage and Pauline Hanson and think crack sounds like fun. I'm not going to do it, though. Name one communist country you'd rather live in. I think China's total population numbers are inflated. Don't have proof, though. Yeah. So, like, you know, this is potentially less than 1.4. So, like, that would maybe bump it up a couple of percentage points. But interesting... interesting to think of it like that, because obviously the argument that is going to be made in this piece is unequivocally that like China is democratic and people are involved, and like if you look at it how the same type of as a percentage or a ratio how many people get involved in like a presidential election in the US, like, you know, it seems to be more than half of the people that can vote will get out there. That's not going to happen all the time, but you know, it's interesting. What was the question? No, name one country, communist country that you'd rather live in? Well, China, I guess. Like, I would argue that there is no such thing as a communist country, but like if you mean like a country that has like a communist party, yeah, I'd live in China. It's fucking high tech as fuck. Vietnam seems to be of the same ilk as well. Yeah. It's kind of like communism just hasn't been done right yet, but next time. I think you should potentially go on a holiday to China. Again, it depends on what your definition of communism is, but like, I think you should go on a holiday to Lemas. You might be surprised at like how awful communism is in practice. Like, see it for yourself. To be honest, no, wait, I could definitely live in Vietnam. Yeah, I haven't had the luxury of going there yet. To be honest, I don't think there are any actual communist countries by Marxist definition. No, I don't think so. But like when you say it to certain people, like the kind of the dilemmas rhetoric here is just like, oh, but that's what they all say. That's not real communism. So like it's not a good conversation point to make in general, unless you're speaking to someone who understands, communism from a Marxist perspective, I guess. Communism aside, China has state-funded universal healthcare and solid infrastructure. China is looking pretty good compared to some countries. It's just where some countries are headed. I think that's the main point here. Is it's like there is significant decay and dilapidation in Western countries. And like, what are you going to do about that in the face of like other countries that are on the rise with the type of things, the living standards that people have come to expect? What do you do in the face of that?
The Youth League, which means that almost every family has a member or someone that is a member of the 70 million members of the Young Communist League, of the Youth League, which means that almost every family has a member or someone that is a member of the Communist Party, which means that when you're voting for people, you're voting for your
in the house. Yo, what's up? How you going? Join us on an adventure. We're trying to learn how politics actually works in China outside of the typical propaganda. So welcome.
Neighbor. You're voting for a member of your family. You're voting for someone that you grew up with. You're voting for someone with whom you worked on the same factory floor, right? I've never met any of the candidates that I've ever voted for. But in China, you effectively vote for representatives of your community, and often the most respected representatives of your community. So I think we have to abandon this liberal idea that choice on its own is a useful marker of what democracy actually means and what it can deliver. And I think the Chinese system and the way that the Chinese system is perceived by the Chinese people shows, in fact, that a much better indicator of the success of a democratic model is the material improvements that it makes in people's lives.
Well, you say, so China considers itself what it calls a whole process people's democracy, which I believe was coined by Xi Jinping a few years ago. And you say in this report that whole process people's democracy integrates two major democratic models, consultative democracy and electoral democracy. So I want to get into the electoral part a little bit later, but I want you to first explain this notion of consultative democracy. What does that look like in practice, and what are some of the key mechanisms that are put into place?
I'm playing devil's advocate. All I want is a government out of my life and out of my pocket. Fair enough. That's the dilemma, as I know. There's our social libertarian. China is harder to get ahead financially because of the amount of people. Every Chinese person I talk with at uni came to NZ because it was easier to land a job for specific fields. Interesting. Ask how easy it is to join the Communist Party of China. What is the process if you want to join the Communist Party in China? Example, America should have the most accessible healthcare system. America should have high-speed rail network. America could afford these with change left over. Democracy means nothing if you're broke. Freedom means nothing if you're broke. Like, freedom to do what? Freedom to move? No, I can't afford it. Living in poverty because you had to pay for an, what's that? Appendectomy? What's an appendectomy? Ask how easy it is to join the Communist Party of China. Got it. On it. Joining the Communist Party of China is a long, highly selective, multi-stage process. So it's not just like registering to vote. Ideological commitment and a social reputation. Here we go. Submit a written application. Anyone 18 plus with no political disqualifications can apply. The application includes why you want to join, your political views, your moral character, your work and education performance. Get a party sponsor or two. I think I've heard of this actually. Most applicants need one or existing CPC members to introduce it. It's CPC. Sponsors are responsible for evaluating your loyalty, helping to train you politically, vouching for your character and social conduct. Removal of impediments. Right, got it. Well, healthcare and around the world is considered at least decent. You won't need to pay a large amount except in America, where they treat people like numbers, making them pay only for care that should be available as the simplest form of attention. Yeah, it's unfortunate how it's been politicized. Like America, like for us Australians, right? Like in America, the healthcare is part of the culture wars. Like in Australia, it's not. Like, I don't think people left or right of the political spectrum would be like, no, that's it. Get rid of fucking Medicare. Like, everyone's just like, no, that's fine. That's not a culture war issue. Don't worry about it. But like America, massive culture war issue. Becoming less and less, but like it's still massively politicized. My educational standards would be well below expectations in China. Yeah, like what the fuck? They're just like, are you educated enough? No. Or that we don't want stupid people coming into the party. So good. Fuck. And like you have to be vouched for as well. Become a probationary activist. After initial approval, you are listed as an activist, meaning you attend political education sessions. You get indoctrinated. You take part in volunteering or party organized community work. You have to do community work. Oh, man. I just wanted to be a career politician. Your performance at school/work is monitored. You undergo political vetting and background checks. This stage can last 1 to 3 years or more. Take the party classes. Applicants must complete a course on Marxism-Leninism. Are you listening to this? Mao Zedong thought, Xi Jinping thought, party history, party discipline. You got to take the lectures, bro. Become a probationary member. If approved by the local party branch, you are admitted to a probationary member for 1 year. During this member, your political reliability is assessed. Your social behavior is monitored. You must participate in party life, meetings, voluntary labor. Ha! Slave labor. I knew it. Study sessions. My God. Goran's right. You're Australian? Yes, I am. My Commonwealth brother. Vive la Commonwealth. No, not really. Well, in my country, serious illnesses are treated as emergencies, but in America, they will deny you, even if your condition is serious because you didn't pay yet, or if you don't go to like, I don't know how it works. It's like if the hospital you rock up isn't covered by your insurer or something like that, they'll just be like, sorry, do you want to pay for this? Or do you want to just like walk and find another hospital? It's crazy, man. Also, only 5% of Americans can read past year 9 level, but we still follow their lead. For the record, I'm not saying China is the promised land. Some things should not be a debate in our country. Universal health care should be bipartisan. Public education should be bipartisan. Accessible public transportation should be bipartisan. Instead, we have Pauline Hanson making anime. Yeah. Isn't that the revelation of the day? Pauline Hanson she's on the propaganda train, like hard, like good, like crazy PR campaign. Sounds like the only people with time to join the party are commies who don't have a job. LOL, so good. See? But like, apart from the fact that some of the people are monitored at work and stuff like that. But like, if you have to dedicate yourself politically, you have to commit to it. We got some good education. Oh, yonder. So it's really stupid. That's why I understand why Americans want to be rich. It's like securing themselves. Yeah, I guess it's important, isn't it? You got to make it because you got to really, you got to survive in the system. Like it's real capitalism, right? It's about absolute subsistence survival. Like if you don't want to fall behind, I'll say it like that. Like you don't want to fall behind. If you want to trigger an American, just laugh in universal healthcare. Savage. See, like it's above the culture war for us Australians, isn't it? Right? My mate had a political friend in China, and we got VIP treatment at some restaurants with free items and discounted prices. VIP treatment, baby. Yeah, my mate, when he returns to China and stuff like that, he's, I don't know what's he, like his cousin or something like that. She's high up in a bank and she's part of the Communist Party. And like, yeah, they get like when they go over there, like they just get taken around and treated to the high life because of their relation to this woman. It's interesting. Okay. So final evaluation and background check. At the end of the probation, the party branch conducts another vote. Supervising colleagues may be interviewed. A party committee does a political review, loyalty, rule following, ideology, behavior, honesty, full party membership. If approved, you become a full CPC member and swear an oath to the party. From here, you continue membership requires annual performance reviews. Annual performance reviews? It's like being at work. Regular political study, participation in meetings, no disciplinary violations. How selective is it? Around 20 to 25 million people apply each year. Only about 2 to 3 million are fully admitted annually. Full membership usually takes 2 to 5 years from the first application. A career boost, especially in government or state firms. It is considered a career boost in government and state firms, especially. A political commitment, a major social responsibility. It sounds like it. Far out. It's definitely just, not going to a meeting or two. Even your death will make you pay for it. If you can't die in peace, I think that's just a general phenomenon, right? In Western societies, it's a big market dying. A lot of expenses. Far out. Whose idea was that? That was you, David. Good call. No difference to Saudi paying influencers to move to the UAE and promote it to the world. Yeah, and like Israel was paying people around the world as well to speak nicely about Israel. I'm definitely not going to be getting my $7,000 from BB anytime soon. Is not real. Take that, is not real. Is not real. All right, sorry, back to the video. I'll let my friend here speak. And then we got to read that article to get the understanding right. China. The suspense is killing me, Avalava. The typing thing's been going for a while now. The 7K Club.
So one of the really remarkable things that you start to understand when you visit China, repeatedly, is that there are countless channels for consultation at all political levels, from the very grassroots level in villages. And I was very fortunate to take part in a field study just about a month ago or so, where we visited 5 different villages in one of the Chinese provinces and looked at the process of poverty alleviation and what they call the construction of common prosperity in each of these villages. And everywhere, those processes.
How's inflation in Australia? Ask Dilemmas. This is your time to shine. I think you were speaking about it before. There's new figures out for inflation and it's not good. I think the Dilemmas was saying before, but I think that's in relation to energy specifically. But Dilemmas will tell us shortly, I'm sure. I thought it had reduced, but maybe not. When I compared the Oz politics with China's using Gemini, it talked about the debt burden they take on as increasing GDP is the metric they all are measured on. Because of this, local politicians build heaps of infrastructure because it's the easiest way to increase GDP. Even if the local government takes on a bunch of debt. What do you think, Mystery? Is this the propaganda or the truth or something else? I didn't get it. What do you mean? When I compared Oz local politics to China using Gemini, it talked about the debt burden they take on as increasing GDP is the metric they are all measured on. Because of this, local politicians build heaps of infrastructure because it's the easiest way to increase GDP. So what they take, like part of their job is to take on debt because it just looks good for GDP. Like they just build stuff because it looks like gross domestic product. Look, you know, I would just argue generally that the idea, like the philosophy when it comes to like Westerners trying to understand China and their economy is just like, it just doesn't match. It just doesn't, it's too different. Like when the Chinese think about building, they think about, you know, investing in stuff. I believe it's because they understand that producing value is what gives an industrial economy its substance. And so like, even if you're building things and it's not like, you know, being checked by some, what do they call it when like corporations and businesses do their due diligence before they invest in something? What do all the developers do? A feasibility analysis. Just because it's not going to get a 20% profit margin doesn't mean that producing something or developing something isn't going to produce value. And so like if they go into debt to produce things of value, like infrastructure, like, you know, it's hard to assess things through a Western lens like that because everything is about, oh, is it profitable? Is it profitable? Is it profitable? Not like, does it have some type of value outside of profit? So maybe it's not Gemini being like continuing propaganda, but it's showing its Western bias. It's just riddled with Western bias as a result of how it's been trained. It's going up. Power prices have risen 30+% according to the RBA. Dilemmas 3.6 to 3.8 inflation rise. There you go. Inflation's going up from 3.6 to 3.8%. I'm really surprised that despite technological advancement, America still uses the old method of government transactions. Do you know what? I haven't visited government buildings. I do all of that through my phone. Yeah. That's not going to go back down. Labor's election honeymoon is over. Bowen has become the president of COP Climate Jerk Circle. Elections have consequences. They do indeed. Oh, they begin massive infrastructure projects just to pad their stats. I was trying to see how this compares to Oz local politicians, where they complain about balancing books and spending beyond their means and not being profitable. So instead of, you know, not spending because you don't have the budget for it, they just build shit because they want to look good. I don't know, man. Like if you have a productive society and you want to build stuff, yeah, even when asking Gemini to look at it from a Marxist materialist perspective, but it still couldn't. I was speaking to Jordan about this recently because he's just come back from China, I believe. Maybe recently. And he was just like, he was walking down some street. I think he said he was in Shanghai. And he was like, they replaced the fucking street, like the pavement every 5 years. And he's like, it was like the most high-tech street pavement I've ever stood on in my life. And they'll just replace that in 5 years' time. And it's like, and what for? Like, you know, in a capitalistic system, that would be the last thing that they replace all the time. But they replace it because they understand that work and producing value is what is essential in a capitalistic economy. And so like you constantly fund certain works to keep your labor force going and keep production going. And so like this is the edge that a planned economy has over the anarchy of the free market. And so like if you're planning stuff, it's just different. If you plan stuff, you can change your fucking pavement every 5 years and it just looks sick. But like if you're not really planning in the same way and you're leaving things up to the market, like it's not going to be the same style of movement. Now, I'm not saying that can't go out of control, but like if you are planning stuff, you can also make sure it doesn't go out of control. That's inherent in the idea of planning. The material outcome is heaps of infrastructure and stuff that people need to have a decent living standard. Yeah, interesting. The Chinese metro is chef's kiss. Yeah, so I've heard. I've seen video footage of people like, vlogging in China and stuff. And they're just like, oh my God, check out this. Or they're like in this railway station and they're just like, wow. China also has a giant skyscraper fire that killed 39 people so far. Yeah, that's never ever happened anywhere but in China. But fair enough. Fair enough. I guess that also increases in probability when you have a billion people. But I see what you did there.
Processes are deeply consultative, and in each village, they kind of work in different ways. And so, just to give you a sense of the rich tapestry of channels and instruments that you have for consultation, you have at a kind of national level, these so-called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 service hotlines, which is a phone number that you can just pick up and you're guaranteed an immediate response upon receipt of complaint. And these hotlines aim at addressing public concerns on all kinds of issues. And I'm sure everyone's seen on TikTok these countless examples of people in China raising complaints about potholes and safety issues in their cities, and seeing those issues remedied within sometimes hours, if not days. So you have that. That also extends to channels like mayoral mailboxes. So literally mailboxes you can drop complaints into.
What a fucking service. That's crazy. I've heard that many people... I haven't heard of that many people dying in a skyscraper since Muzzies learned to fly from the CIA. I think that's the most integral part of that fucking observation right there. They learned to fly from the CIA. That's right. Cheese Swiss, the anarchy of the free market? ? Hey, it's good to have you, Cheese Swiss. How are you? Are you actually asking a question? What do I mean by the anarchy of the free market? Let me know. I would like to know more. Can I just stop to what the fuck was that? What he just said. Did you hear that? They have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hotline. What is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hotline in China? Apparently there is a number that you can call when you see an issue that is something related to a service government should be providing. Example being a pothole. You can call this number and it will be fixed shortly. Brief explanation, please. London had that public housing fire. I can't remember how many people died, but it was a pretty tall building. Yeah, that wasn't too long ago as well. That was pretty sad, and it went up fucking fast. LOL, wasn't there just recently a bridge that collapsed into a gorge, leaving a truck driver hanging off the edge? Tofu dredge construction is not safe at all. Yeah, someone else put that up. I think Han. I don't know if Han comes back here anymore, but Han put that up. Wow. Oh, yes. What do I mean? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. The anarchy of the free market. So there's this idea. It's not real exactly, but there's this concept in capitalist society that the market is the best thing to be able to figure out what the needs of society are. It's like the goods and the services, how to distribute all of the stuff that everybody needs to make society work. So the anarchy of the free market is think of the law of the jungle, right? You have all of these animals living in an ecosystem somewhere, and there is no hierarchy. No one controls anyone. It's anarchy. The bigger animals prey on the smaller animals, but the bigger animals can also kind of get consumed in that system as well. So some people might dominate here, there, but they're all in relation to each other, and it's complete anarchy. No one kind of is in total control. That's what a free market is supposed to be like. Free market competition is supposed to be anarchy. Like businesses, corporations, enterprises, they operate supposedly without any rules, and they compete with one another, and the best ones will rise to the top, but then competition will keep them in check. So it's anarchy. No one's kind of imposing their will on anyone else. It's just pure business. The only way that people network with each other is through business relations, and the best, like I said, the cream will rise to the top, and then like new players will come in, and then they'll pip the old ones that used to be on top because of this wonderful competitive environment, this anarchy that keeps the system self-regulated, if you will. Now, we know this is a fallacy because obviously governments are lobbied by big business and private interests to get policies made in their favor, regulations change in their favor. They get subsidies, tax breaks, all that sort of stuff. So the government does come in and regulate, and they need regulation. So the anarchy of the market is a myth, but it's the idea that the market will sort everything out. It is the anarchy of it because it's something that you just let it go, and people will compete with each other, and that competition, that anarchy of there being no real power structure that's in control of it, and just let it play out, and it'll organically do itself. That organic nature is the anarchy of the free market, and that is antithetical to the idea of a planned economy. So the Chinese, whether you think they're socialist or communist or not, that's a fucking huge debate, but they have a planned economy. So they don't just leave it to the anarchy of the market. They employ the market, they use the market, but they definitely tell the market, right, this is what we want to do. And they use market forces to help them, but they said this is the objective, and they plan towards that, and then allow market forces to kind of, help push them in that direction. But they definitely control the market forces in a way that helps them. There was never a free market when subsidies are involved, which isn't always a bad thing if the subsidies are for the greater good of the country and not just leaning into ideology. Kind of like what your mate Rennick was talking about the other day, Rennictarian philosophy about tariffs, like tariffs protect local industry and stuff like that. Yeah, there's no anarchy in a market where there are like something like tariffs protecting your local industry, because if you really want the anarchy, organic competition, then like if foreign people come in and take over your market, then that was just the way it is. I see now. You refresh my memory on that. No worries, no worries. And it's an interesting concept because like that's how it's supposed to be, like in the very original notion of Adam Smith and stuff like that, like the invisible hand, right? The market will sort it out. What is the 12345 hotline? That is a unified national standard citizen government service number for non-emergency issues. It was created by consolidating dozens of old fragmented hotlines for different services under a single number. It's meant to handle on behalf of local governments a wide range of public service, public infrastructure, social governance, administrative and citizen concerns, from potholes to trash pickups to social services, business registrations, licensing. Imagine that, hey? Just like picking up the phone and just being like, somebody forgot to pick up the trash, and like somebody actually answers and gives a fuck, instead of like ringing up your local council like here in Australia and then just be like, yes, we know, and like nothing happens. You can use 24/7 in most cities. Operator logs and triage your requests. They don't themselves solve the problem, but act as a switchboard. Interesting. Like, do you believe, like, oh, look, it can be solved in hours? That's incredible. Like, there are potholes on streets in my area that, like, are fucking problematic. And they'll go, like, months without being attended to. One country's subsidies also affect world market prices. Yeah, so much for the anarchy.
You have mobile apps, you have call centers, you have groups on WeChat. So WeChat is kind of like the Chinese WhatsApp, except it's much more than that. It's a kind of all-encompassing platform that you can use for all kinds of digital to access all kinds of digital services in the country, from payments to banking to food orders to taxi orders, and also you can raise issues with your local government or officials or whatever on things of public concern. And so those are some of the mechanisms that enable governments at different levels of the state to respond to everyday demands and everyday concerns. But those processes of consultation also extend to actual process.
Some of our potholes have been around for so long, they've been heritage listed. That's a good one. I have to remember that. Heritage listing the potholes. Ah, yes. I remember when the Andersons, they popped a tire in that pothole. The whole street came out to help change the tire. So
processes of legislation. So you might have a particular set of policies that's being implemented, for example, about one aspect of the redevelopment of the countryside. What the state will then do is it will engage the different party bodies at, again, the different levels of state government, national government, to then reach out to academic institutions, to think tanks, to various kinds of research teams, who will then be tasked with outsourcing other bits of the research to other organizations, who will then conduct field studies, speak to people and communities that might be affected by these policies. So a process of policy development might take 2, 3, 4, 5 years, involve consultations with thousands of people, involve the production of hundreds of thousands of words of text, and potentially dozens of academic conferences where these things are rigorously discussed, reassessed, reconsidered, and communicated ultimately up to the party, and then in the process of implementation communicated back to the people from where the ideas were ultimately or initially sourced. So there's this process of taking ideas from the people, systematizing them, and then applying them back effectively in processes of policy experimentation. And successful ideas are then expanded across the country, and less successful ideas are reconsidered and revised.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on to what you were saying, I came across this model of consultative democracy, a couple examples pretty recently. One is the other day I read in one of the Chinese news sources, China Daily, I think, and we're actually featuring it as a headline. But the government is trying to revise data privacy laws, and they wanted to get people's opinions about this draft regulation. And so they opened it up for public consultation so that people can go online and kind of give their input on, this draft resolution. And then another thing that I came across recently was, as you probably know, the CPC just recently approved suggestions for its new 5-year plan, the 15th 5-year plan. And in order to get, suggestions for this, they, I think they opened up, they did a similar thing. They opened up consultations online so that regular citizens could give their input on what could be prioritized in the next 5-year plan. And I think that's really astounding to me as someone who comes from the US, because we have never, as US citizens, been asked to give our input on draft legislation. There's some really unpopular laws and budget cuts that are being pushed through Congress, where a lot of working people are losing access to healthcare. They're losing access.
Interesting. Look, I don't know if that's a fair assessment. There's a lot of fucking consultation that goes on I can't speak for the US. There's a lot of consultation that goes on in New South Wales when it comes to policy decisions, especially in the planning realm. And when they do have draft legislation, they do ask for comments. Whether or not people are paying attention to that is a completely different thing. I would say most people have no idea when governments actually go out for consultation periods. But what she's talking about is proper integrated consultation, where you go to think tanks, organizations, you go to academic institutions, and you go to the people, you go where they are in their workplaces, their homes, their communities, and you seek out their comments, as opposed to just be yeah, we have a website for comments, and they hope that no one uses the website. It's very interesting. Yes, we do. We have consultation periods for legislation, 100%, and for policy and all that sort of stuff. But it depends again, on the legislation. Something if it's a draft policy that's trying to be put through, they have consultation periods. But again, who's watching that? You can sign up to Australian government like the government website or something, and get notifications for when policy comes through, so you can know to comment on it. But like that would be, so few people would like actively do that. And so like if what she's talking about is like consultative democracy, where they go to people. So like you see that in like state government, they'll do things in like, libraries, right? They'll set up an information booth and they'll be like, oh, we're going to have this new policy. Do you have any comments? And like people might walk into the library and then just like they get a flyer, or they might ask someone a question about it. And like it's done, like it's done, but it's rather tokenistic. It's not like, they go after people and like make sure they're in the realm where people exist, like at work, at home, door knocking and stuff like that, asking for people's commentary. It's very different in that regard. It's been a thing over here, and right-wing parties make claims that people are just bots and will just ignore the public outcry. Yeah, see, like that's the thing. Like, what do you do with it? And they're talking about consultative democracy. So like taking that on board and using it. I get to egg a guy every now and then. Yeah. Input as sending an email or letter to make your claim for or against a policy. Yeah. Are you actually involved in the creation of that policy document? That's another thing altogether. There's a petition that cracked 10K signatures to have castle law introduced. At 10K, it has to be read by politicians. In theory, we can do that. In practice, I don't know how many do it. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the real thing. I didn't read this before, Avalavo. The material outcome is heaps of infrastructure and stuff that people need to have a decent living standard. But Gemini was complaining about debt, and this is unsustainable behavior. I was waiting for it to cite the NED or the ASPI studies. So good. Yeah, it's funny how it's like just going like debt. It's like very bourgeois way of looking at it. Like if you try to analyze Chinese economics from a bourgeois perspective, you're just like, but how can they keep spending? I thought spending bad. Spending bad, right? What's this, Ninja Nurse? Did you guys see this real estate rant recently? What's this? This is trash, right? Is this trash? You don't know us? Brezek Whitney founder defends entire real estate industry. A fired-up former real estate agent has taken to social media to defend the entire industry, claiming that the haters have no idea what they're talking about. Ivan Brezek has been working in real estate since he was 17 and was one of the... I would really like your reaction to this. What, to this guy here? And was one of the co-founders of the Sydney real estate agency chain, Brezek Whitney. The 47-year-old started the business in 2003 and exited it because he wanted to relocate to America. He still works in the industry by as a coach and a consultant for other agents. Mr. Brezek took to social media to share an impassioned speech in defense of real estate agents who he believes unfairly get a really hard time. I can cry me a river, eh? This is for all the real estate agent haters out there. You don't know us, he said. It's as simple as that. You think we're overpaid, but we are not. The industry veteran argued that agents can work up to 7 days a week, contribute to every community in Australia, and don't deserve the hate. We're the hardest working industry in the country, he said. Mr. Brezek then paused and amended that real estate agents are one of the hardest working industries in the country. Well, why pause? Just own it, bro. We are the hardest working. 7 days a week. It's difficult. Own it, brother. The 47-year-old explained that he felt especially passionate and protective of his industry after spending just a few days surrounded by agents. And I've just finished 3 days of workshops and meetings with agents and having dinner with the best We were coked off our heads. It was wonderful. Jokes, of course. Show me an industry that are that committed and coked up all the time. I'll wait. Mr. Brezik added that, generally speaking, agents love health and fitness and are motivated people who are always trying to get better at their craft, generally speaking. Yeah, look at this guy, Mr. Health and Fitness over there. What is this fucking PR for real estate agents? Why are they producing this trash? News.com. It's almost like News.com is affiliated with somebody who makes billions of dollars out of owning realestate.com.au, multi-billion-dollar enterprise. Real estate agents need some good fucking PR. Everybody hates them. Fucking tough, bro. Everyone hates fucking landlords too. Like, what's the deal? What's the deal? Like, what do you want? Everyone to be like, you know what? They do work hard. They do. It's the fucking industry. Form a union. You don't like it? Form a fucking union. And then make sure that, like, not the fucking owners, the big fucking real estate capitalists out there, but the fucking workers are protected from an industry that expects people to be fucking wage slaved around 7 days a week. And they probably do a lot of work off the clock too, extra stuff. So they probably are hardworking people, but a majority of them aren't the fucking owners of the real estate company they work for. They just get fucking squeezed and exploited from it. Play the video. The way he speaks is so slimy. Oh man, do we want to play the video? Do we want to see that slimy stuff?
G'day, this is just to all the real estate agent haters out there. You don't know us.
You don't
it's as
know
simple
us.
as that. You think we're overpaid. We're not. We are the hardest working industry in the country, one of. I've just finished 3 days of workshops, meeting with agents, having dinner with the best. You know, show me an industry that are as committed as us, who still love their health and fitness and are generally motivated, inspired people who always are looking at getting better at their craft. We contribute to every community. You know, we're available 7 days a week for people out there who want to buy and sell. So, you know, to anyone who slags the real estate industry, you simply don't know us. And if you think we're overpaid, you come and try.
Do you like that one? Americans? That one's for you. Australian slang. We say slag. Anyone who slags us.
You come and do what all my people and what my fellow real estate agents do out there. You couldn't do it if you tried. So I say that with respect, but like the real estate agent haters out there, you got no idea. We deserve what we get paid. Work hard. You guys need us to manage your homes, to find a buyer for your homes, to help you sell your homes. This is a message to my people, the real estate industry. Let's keep being us, and we can block all that noise out.
You keep doing you, bro. You keep doing you. Good on him. Hey? Fuck the haters. Hey, I don't need you. Yeah, people are obviously pissed off, and like you are in a nice place to cop some of that aggression. Like, what do you want, bro? Honestly. Shut the fuck up. I don't need you, bro. Hey, well, apparently everybody needs a fucking real estate agent. We work round the clock to sell your shit, and you don't like us? It's basically a public service. Good time to join shitting on real estate agents, courtesy of Ninja Nurse. There's a few people in here I know that would fucking like to tear apart a real estate agent. That's for sure. We recently had a story where someone calculated and ranked politicians' housing investments. LOL. Ha. Boomers eventually hit the ceiling of their baseness and they're all dying off. It's the millennials' time. We're a bit behind the boomer. Refuse to let go of the reins. Very, very punchable guy. I watched this after 12-hour shift in ICU. I was laughing with respect. Yeah, after a 12-hour shift in ICU. Fair enough. Albo is really worried about climate change as he holidays in his cliffside mansion. What if we all just sold our homes, eh? I want his house, though. So what can we do to take houses from agents? It's like eating them. That'll work. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't feel sorry for this guy. He's got plenty of time to go to the gym and concentrate on his health and fitness, eh? Seems pretty fucking self-absorbed generally, this guy. Very self-absorbed. The 47-year-old claimed that if the general public knew what agents go through, they would have far more empathy for them. Like, it's just, look, if the general public knew what working people go through to fucking hustle to make a living in a system that is riddled with contradictions that are getting more and more acute. Everybody has this story, man. Everybody has this story. It's difficult. You're not special, bro. Relax, bro. He mentioned dinner with the best. I wasn't invited. Were you, Mystery? No, I fucking wasn't. And could you imagine that dinner with the best as well? They wouldn't have been struggling. Eh? Would have had some fucking class A drugs there too. That's like the Britney Spears viral bit from you. Leave her alone. Yeah, I know, right? Isn't it? Leave us alone. On top of that, it's also a career where presentation is essential. You're putting on a suit at least 6 days a week. That's your own problem, man. You guys have done this. You guys have made it this type of image market. You have to look great to sell stuff. It never used to be like that. Like they dress professionally, but like now it has to, like, you have to drive a Mercedes fucking Benz to sell a fucking house. Like, you know, come on. And he knows some like to make fun of agents rocking up in suits, but he still thinks that the feedback is ridiculous. Does the public want us to turn up in a Jeep, in a white singlet? This is such fucking bullshit. Is that what the public want? That doesn't make sense. As real estate leaders, we have to say presentation is really important. Yeah, because you've associated with it with success. If you don't look the part, you're not going to win. Hey, you're a fucking winner. You are. Mr. Brezik said that it takes years in the industry to start making serious coin. Oh, fuck me dead. Like, they're the only people out there. Like, look at doctors. Doctors will study and then specialize for like 15 years. And then they have incredible debt after. Like, what do you want? And then it comes to working hard, building relationship, playing the long game. You're just describing work life. What a whingy prick, eh? He pointed out that if you sell a $1 million home, the agent usually gets 1.8% cut, which results in about 18,000. Cry me a river, cry me a river. Like, what do you want? Fucking hell. Typically 10,000 goes to the agency. Well, fuck, there you go. Here we go. You do the work as the agent. Sell a $1 million home. You get 18 grand. 10 grand of your surplus value gets scraped off you for your efforts. If you actually own that as a cooperative, then you would share in the surplus value you all produce. What do you want, man? But after taxes, the agent is getting like $6,000. What do? Sell one house a year? Come on, man. I've been sorting my records and just laughing, just listening to this rant in the background. Like, but like, what does this guy want? Like, far out. Oh, open your own agency. What is this guy bitching about? He did, and he's still fucking whinging. He did. He exploits other people. He's that fucking prick that they're complaining about. He's the guy that takes a massive cut away from people who work 7 days a week, hustling to push a house in like Australia, right? Like, this isn't America where you have options. Most of the real estate in Australia, especially in the urban centers, moves. It moves fast too, by comparison. So, like, you know, it's not like they're dying to sell these houses. It's an industry where you are rewarded by as much as you put in, he said. We're fucking inside of the day, brother. Inside of the day. What a bourgeois notion that is. Hey, just work hard. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And one day, you'll be a millionaire. I had to get a mortgage to pay the government to inherit a house. That's fucked. Every time he says Asian, I hear Asian. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm way too stoned. Oh my god. Seriously. That was unnecessary. Like having to read that drivel. But I understand why you wanted us to go there. I do. There's a few people in here that I know that fucking love to, punch a real estate agent, that's for sure. As Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels wrote in the German ideology, in general, people cannot be liberated as long as they are unable to obtain food and drink, housing and clothing in adequate quality and quantity. Liberation is an historical and not a mental act. It is brought about by historical conditions. Yeah, that's right. Freedom to do what? I said before, like, freedom to do what? You live in a free country, but like, can you free to move? Can you afford a plane ticket? You live in a free country. Can you afford to live? Can you afford to live? Think about that. Like, fucking conceptualize that notion. Can you afford to live? There is a cost of living. Even living isn't free. Living isn't free. It's a fucking crazy concept. Can you afford to live? That type of society has got to go. Like, I don't care what side of the political spectrum you sit on, where you like your culture war at. I think we can all agree that it's a fucked up idea that there is such thing called the cost of living. It's a fucked up idea, man. That's our system. No wonder why all the kids are socialist. Sometimes with your commentary, unless I'm not reading it with the right sass, I don't know where you sit. That's our system, you're saying, and that's why kids are socialists, because fuck, it sucks. It's a system that literally we've normalized this notion of the cost of living. TAFE's finest minds. Yeah, I got my real estate license. What about you? All right. Let's go buy a BMW and a suit. And do coke on kitchen bench tops before we head to auctions. Let's do it. I like my culture war sprinkled with memes. There it is. There it fucking is. That's the only palatable way to have the culture war. Sprinkled with memes. And fucking fully sick videos. The feature-length films. Like, what the fuck is it called? Super Progressive, the movie. God, I can't wait for that to come out.
Access to SNAP, and popular laws and legislation. There's some really unpopular laws and budget cuts that are being pushed through Congress, where
systems work exactly how they're designed to work. Bro, I'm telling you, when you write stuff like that, you are a revolutionary. You understand? I'm not saying you have to advocate for socialist revolution or anything like that. You can advocate for any type of revolutionary society you want. But, you understand just as well as anyone. It is systematic, and you can't change it without overhauling the system itself. Mystery all revved up now, worth it? Yeah, you fuck it. You got me. You got me. People do this from time to time as well. They're like, "Oh, check this out," and I get real pissed off. Jag gets me from time to time with this stuff. It was worth it. It does. It pisses me off. Like, people like that are fucking like, come on, man. They really think that they're the only one struggling out there, and like struggling in his fucking Mercedes Benz. Come on. Reminds me of that anti-woke series on X that was supposed to be the new South Park. I wonder what that's like. I wonder if we could view that. That'll be interesting. All right, back to her comparing Chinese politics, consultative democracy, to how the government was shut down in the US and they cut off Snap.
A lot of working people are losing access to healthcare. They're losing access to SNAP. And
I agree, but my revolution is enshrined in rights and get the hell out of my life. It's none of your business, Fed. Now, look, we can all agree on that, I think, what you're talking about there. But like, you can't get there overnight. You must work towards it. So strategy, that's what we need to do. Strategy, how you get there, how you get to that point of where you can literally have a society where no one is encroaching on your rights. Or a society that facilitates your rights to be encroached on. Like, people are going to do it, they're going to do it anyway. But like, institutionally, is that reinforced? How do you get rid of the institutions that reinforce that? Cleanse the palate with communism. Yes. Chinese, socialism with Chinese characteristics.
like, none of us were ever consulted on these new budget cuts and these new laws. So, I mean, to me, that was just really, really astounding.
Well, in the US, you don't even have a 5-year plan. You guys barely have a 1-year plan.
Yes, exactly.
Now, oftentimes it looks like you have a 2-week plan. It's quite. I'm trying to find the numbers now, but I was reading about this in the very first weeks after the.
How dare you compare that real estate douchebag to our revolutionary theory? You'll make me cry.
The consultations for the 15th 5-year plan were opened. So this is a very broad set of policies that will determine the direction of Chinese development between 2026 and 2030. Very, I think, critical period in the country's history. As you kind of many of the problems of poverty have in a way been solved, and now there's a level of ambition that's being pursued about development and lifting people to the standard of moderate prosperity, about building the first stages of an actual socialist society, which again has a deadline and a timeline in China. This is a very important period, and as you say, it's remarkable that people are asked for their views and their opinion. And in the first, I think, few days, and I might be getting this wrong because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the government had received about 3 million suggestions from the public.
That's the figure that I've read too. Yeah, 3 million.
And that was 3 times more than it received in the same period for the 14th 5-year plan in 2020. And so you have not only, this pretty...
We do. I think we all, like a lot of us, and like across the political spectrum, we do have the hatred for the same types of people as well. I think it's a working class thing, right? All of us against the people that support the capitalist class and any of their affiliates that like opportunists that support them, like real estate agents. Interesting ideas for how to reform Australia using our current system, like this stuff. Yeah, how to get people more involved in the consultation. Could you imagine going through 3 million comments? Like, I used to work in government and we used to go through comments and stuff like that. And like, I'm all for participation, but fuck, I hate reading people's comments. My God, 3 million of them? Fuck that.
Spectacular process of consultation, but you also see that it's improving and expanding with time. And I think that tendency of increasing participation, of, in fact, preparing greater and greater numbers of people for the task of governing, which I think is the fundamental role of a communist party over the long arc of history. You see that tendency in motion as more and more people vote every election cycle, as more and more people engage in these consultative processes, and as more and more people express confidence in the integrity of the democratic system in the country.
Yeah, I really appreciate this quote from Xi Jinping, which I believe is also in the report. It says, if the people are awakened only at voting time and dormant afterward, if the people hear big slogans during elections but have no say after, if the people are favored during canvassing but are left out after elections, this is not true democracy. Which is all to say that China's whole consultative democracy...
What a fucking stab at Western democracy. It's just like, if the people are just riled up during election time and forgotten about it outside of election time, that's not democracy. Like, what a... Hey, Xi can't help himself, can he? Just like stabbing at Westerners. Savage commentary there. That's not democracy. That's just a fucking show. It's a sham. Goddamn sham, that is. Hey? Stephen Tripp and Dr. Chris Reynolds are leading a grassroots movement, but but a little less preachy than tea pass. I don't know what that is. Thoughts on the Governor General being elected by the people? Why not? Why the not? Especially if they have power. It's not just a fucking, like a ceremonial thing. It's just like, and now the Governor General will anoint, blah, 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 or hand out this award. Like, it's more than ceremonial. The commie has a point. The commie has a point.
Integrates feedback from the people, and it's judged by the material improvement in people's lives. It's a results-based governing system, in contrast to the West, where we keep having elections, but we don't really have anything to show for it, when in fact our conditions are actually getting worse. We aren't able to afford anything, rents getting astronomically high. But yeah, like a common argument that I have seen from China critics is that, Xi Jinping was not elected by the people, therefore it's not a democracy. But can you talk a little bit about
Turning Point USA, right? Okay. Turning Point Australia, TP Oz, right?
The the electoral part of a whole process, people's democracy, and how elections work in China?
Yeah, so it's a slightly complicated system, I think, partly because of how decentralized the country is and how big it is. And it's really important to emphasize that, and many people don't understand this, but China is among the most decentralized, probably among the most decentralized countries in the world, and certainly more decentralized in its governing model than I think any Western country. In China, local governments, and that includes provincial, county, township, and village levels, and I'll talk a little bit more about the different levels of governance in a moment, they make up 50% of government revenue, and they account for about 85% of expenditure. Now, the global average for central governments is 66% in terms of the percentage of expenditures where they sit in the kind of hierarchy of the state. In China, it's 15%. So the central government in China is responsible for 15% of total government expenditure, which means that a tremendous amount of power is devolved.
Fuck? I wouldn't have guessed that. So, like the usual Western story, authoritarian government, it's communist China, like centralized Communist Party controls everything kind of thing. There's like the Politburo, or like the inner sanctum of the Communist Party. And like they would do all of the, all right, we're going to spend money on all of this stuff and we're going to do all of these projects. And they're accounting for 15% of expenditure. 85% of expenditure is done at the local/regional level. That's interesting, man. That is decentralized as fuck. I don't think it works like that in Australia anywhere close to that. Like I would say like a lot of the large planning and infrastructure spending, or the big spending by government, is done at the state and the federal levels. And like the local level is not where the expenditure happens. In terms of government expenditure, how much as a percentage of total government expenditure is spent by local governments in Australia? I'll link some vids in Discord. Beyond Rennick, Steve Tripp is another actual Aussie right winger who knows the system really well. And when you say actual, you mean your right type of right wing, right? Oh God, imagine a world where the local government has the most power, like has the ability to just find out what is needed in the community and spend like that. It sounds very anarchist almost, doesn't it? It's crazy. Oh man, it can't answer the question. There's not enough data. What do you want to do if you want close estimates? Download ABS data and figure it out for yourself. Fuck you, research system. Useless bastard. Nah, I'm joking. You're pretty good. Don't take offense to that. That's pretty mental, though. Like, you know, allowing a decentralized approach to governance and funding it, like figuring it out what actually needs to go where. But this is the thing when you have the planned economy as well. If you have the 5-year plan and everybody knows what the standard is, then like everyone can start doing that in the context of the locality. You got to have that 5-year plan first, or unless it's just everyone doing their fucking own thing, right? Yeah, what I would describe as Aussie right wing, not to be confused with Seppo's right wing. No, but like, which includes numpties like Babbitt, lol. No, I mean your description of Aussie right wing is different to like what other people will call right wing in Australia, right? Like the NSN or something like that, or like the Liberal Nationals even, or even One Nation. Like you don't seem to be all over One Nation, like a rash. You're like Rennictarian. A conservative modern monetary theorist, I would say.
To these local levels, which is where elections happen, right? So you have in China a system where you have what are known as the county and township levels. And at the county and township levels, you have deputies who are elected directly by voters. So again, as I said, if you're in a village of 3,000 people, you are voting for an exemplary neighbor, someone who went above and beyond. Someone who went through the same hardships that you went through. We were able to meet these people on our last visit, which is also quite beautiful to see how powerful and effective these bonds are between local community leaders and the communities they are tasked with serving. And again, important to emphasize that it is their responsibility to serve the people. There's a very clear, very specific mandate with very clear performance indicators. And if you don't meet those performance indicators, you can get voted out. So you have deputies who are elected by voters at the county and township levels. Then those deputies elect deputies.
That's why I was asking about the local government levels in China. Well, because of what they're talking about here, how like they distribute it into regional areas for development. That's crazy though. Like think of the amount of money they command in their economy. 85%. We're talking about like trillions of dollars. You'd have to say, right? Trillions of dollars. And like, even if they're spending like 15% of trillions of dollars at the national level or something like that, like really focusing on like large scale industry and like, you know, those special economic zones and like producing, you know, multiple versions of Silicon Valley in competing areas in China. 85% still going to the local level. That's still a lot of money we're talking about here. Dilemmas, what's this? This is the thing, the commanding the narrative. I think you've put commanding the narrative in before. Haven't had a look at it. Haven't had a chance to check it out all yet though. A way to shift the Overton window. Interesting.
Is at the city level. Then the city level deputies elect deputies at the provincial level, and then the provincial level deputies elect deputies to the national level, to the highest level of government.
So you're like low scale local governments, like village, town, and then local, or maybe it's just local in the cities without the village town variation. So let's say local, provincial, so like regional, and then national. And so like they step up. So you vote for your Communist Party representative at the local level. You really like someone, you vote them in as a deputy. As a deputy, they get to go as a delegate then off to the next level. Then they form the provincial government. And then from the provincial government, they elect people from that stage, and then they go into the national government. It's interesting. So instead of, you know, voting for someone to go straight to the federal level, it's best from your local region, then they vote for the best, or not the best, let's say the most preferred. Let's just say that they vote for the most preferred at the local, then from the most preferred of all localities, then go to the provincial, the most preferred from the provincial go on to the national. So you're getting people, you know, theoretically, that are being vetted 3 times before they get to the national level, like vetted by their peers, as opposed to just being vetted by some type of like, you know, election race campaign, which is like pageantry and showboating. You're just throwing propaganda around. Yeah, sweet. Maybe for another afters session, yeah, after we've done some I can't say it probably, Rennictarian philosophy. It's time for some more of that, hey?
Those are the 4 levels. And again, the elections, they happen at the lowest level. And by the number of voters, they represent the largest democratic exercise anywhere in the world. In the last election, over 1 billion people took part. Very high levels of participation. I think turnout rates of about 90%. Again, far higher than the turnout in any Western democracy right now, where in fact the tendency has been for dropping turnouts during national elections. The recent election in China was larger than any electoral exercise anywhere else, including India, which claims to be the world's largest democracy.
Well, another popular myth about China is that it's a one-party state ruled by the CPC and that there are no other political parties. But as you mentioned a few minutes ago, there are actually other political parties. So could you talk a little bit about, the role that they serve in governing?
Yeah, I know, except Australia, right? It's just like, yeah. Voter turnout is going down, but like, look, compulsory voting. It's interesting. I wonder what Australia's voting rate would be if we didn't have compulsory voting. Like, I used to work at elections from time to time, and people were just majorly inconvenienced. That's the vibe I got from had to be 80% of the people not happy to be there at all. Funny.
And why do they, how do they relate to the CPC?
So maybe I'll take a step back a little bit.
Okay, so here is this is a crazy, crazy idea. Look at the fucking screen, even if you're lurking, just for a second. The one party thing that we've been told about the CPC, or the way that China's political system works? It's still, look at the size of the red there. But it's actually not entirely a one party system. There are still other political parties that are allowed to participate in the system, despite the fact that the Communist Party is the vehicle to politically organize. There's still other parties that are in the system. That's just, revelation of the day. I don't think I've ever heard anyone acknowledge that before, ever. That, yeah, okay, there are actually other parties. But let's not talk about that. And, it looks to be... it's pluralistic in a way. I wonder if we can actually see what it says there. Chinese Democratic League, China's National Democratic Construction Association. Wow, imagine a party just for democratic construction. The Jin Yunan Society, the Chinese Peasants and Workers Democratic Party, China's Association for Partnering Democracy, Revolutionary Committee of the Chinese Kuomintang. They're still there. Chiang Kai-shek, he's back, baby. The Kuomintang is still there. Isn't that fucking mental? That is fucking crazy. Anyway, Chinese Zhigong Party, the Taiwan Democratic Self-Government League. Can't believe they let them in. Fuck. That's ambitious. Big issue with Australian politics is ministers being appointed by positions. Ministers being appointed to positions they have no experience in. That wouldn't happen in China by the sounds of it. Eh? At least the American system, you can appoint experts to positions in that field. I agree with compulsory voting. It made the country the best in the world, but we need enshrined rights to counter crazy majorities. There it is. Yeah, goddamn majorities.
Because I think in China, what's often emphasized is, in a sense, the historical necessity of the CPC and the historical necessity of this particular governance model, given the weight of China's historical inheritance, given the crises that plagued the country and before the revolution. And one of those big challenges was just the lack of a stable political system that could guarantee not even any kind of progressive outcomes for the Chinese people, but that could, survive. You had this really tumultuous period where there was an attempt to introduce liberal democracy at the start of the 20th century. you had very quickly, this is the first decade of the 20th century, you had about 300 political parties that were formed. And in the I think 2 decades that followed, you had 10 different heads of state, you had 45 cabinets, you had 59 prime ministers, basically, almost 2 decades of complete chaos. Now, when I read these figures, I'm reminded of other countries now, the United Kingdom among them, where you also have a very high number of governments and prime ministers in the past few years. But this was a deeply chaotic process that eventually yielded to one-party dictatorship under Chiang Kai-shek, which was a period that delivered, war, ultimately a war that they lost, and a cataclysmic economic crisis that was really devastating for the country. And so when the CPC came to power, the system that was created, the system that emerged, was one that sought to develop not a competitive relationship between political parties, but a cooperative one. And so in the period, in the revolutionary period, in the kind of decades around before and during the revolution, you had a number of parties that emerged, which continue to exist. They're known as the 8 democratic parties. They're much smaller than the Communist Party of China. But their function isn't to compete against the Communist Party, but to operate as a vehicle for different segments of society to also have a hearing in the political process. So they're basically channels for different groups within society to participate in governance. For example, in the processes of consultation that I described, in carrying out research for certain policy areas, and providing these alternative voices in the political process. And all of those parties have.
It's very interesting because, if you know the history of like what happened around this time, like when the Communist Party kind of took power in 47. There was an acknowledgement of how various the amount of political movements were in China that were vying for power, and obviously the fight came down to between the Kuomintang and the Communist Party, and the Kuomintang were trying to bring in type of bourgeois political system. They were Republicans, and Mao was trying to bring a communist style of revolution and like political organization in the country. But like there were heaps of look at the size of China, like my God. And there were heaps of different political movements and strands. And so like when Mao kind of was trying to decide how they were going to approach the situation politically, like he wasn't the type of communist that is just like, okay, no, complete exclusion from the political process, and didn't want to have anything to do, if you know what I mean, with anyone else, like any other types of policies or any other types of classes. And so he was like, we need the capitalist class, and like there was a unification of like 4 different sectors of society: the communists, the peasantry, the workers, and the bourgeoisie to a certain extent. But like I think they were honing in on a particular type of industrial capitalists because they needed to ally with them in order to bring China into the 20th century, as opposed to just like wipe everyone out who has any understanding of like how to work agriculture, how to work industry and all that sort of stuff. They wanted to keep them around and integrate them into the system and turn them towards communist rule, as opposed to just kind of wiping it out. There was like a lot of alliances. So it's funny that these leftovers, these 8 parties that now are, parties within their own right outside the Communist Party, but they're integrated into the system and they're allowed. They're facilitated. It's a throwback to their history where, it was a pretty crazy time in China politically. And so like they have these other parties because they remember history. The communists remember what it was like back in the day. It was crazy as fuck. It was mental and turbulent as fuck. And these parties rose out of the ashes. They were around, man. They saw some things, man. Some of these parties. They were with us back in the dark days. So they can stick around. Like they have to play ball, but they can stick around. It's very interesting. Sidebar, in today's episode of America, 2 National Guard got shot in DC today. Oh, it's going to get spicy as... No way. Where did you find that? Where did you hear that? Can you link me? Anton's in the house. Back for round 3. This is getting... you're a regular now. The lack of compulsory voting would mean, and people can abstain. Forced voting means people are forced to choose between two sides of the same coin, and zero change or zero sentiment can get across, in my opinion. Fair enough. Where are you coming from, Antoine, by the way? What country do you come from? I'm assuming somewhere that doesn't have compulsory voting, maybe? I don't know. Or maybe you just don't like compulsory voting. Algo sees working. Algo's working? Yeah, the algo's working. Right, got it. Yes. People are going to start talking. It's not a small number of people that draw a dick on the ballot. It's an Aussie tradition. The compulsory voting allows more moderate political environment without extremes. Oh, you are from AU. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Generally. LOL. Generally. Yeah, the amount of dicks that I've seen on fucking ballot papers. Oh my God. Oh, up the Tigers. Hey, go the Tigers. I've seen that on a lot of fucking ballot papers as well.
Representation at the different levels of governance that we talked about.
I guess
so there you go.
Question
China, not a one-party system exactly. Not wholly true. Interesting stuff.
Before I let you go, how would you respond to people who may take a look, like people in the West who may take a look at China's system and say that, no, China is not socialist. It's made too many concessions to capital. Having written this report and you having been to China and actually talked to some people in these villages, how would you respond to that, like, very common critique?
Yeah, one of the big challenges, I think, for people in the West, and I often say to Chinese friends and colleagues that it's impossible to overstate the extent to which people in the West really know nothing about China. Very, very basic understanding of the political process. But it's also quite difficult given the lack of published data or published information, published writing on these things in the West in English. Until really a couple of years ago, things have gotten a lot better. But it remains difficult to get details on some of the kind of finer points of Chinese policymaking. One of the things that really struck me beyond the case study that I already mentioned was on this last trip that I went on. We visited 5 villages in Henan province that had also until very recently been relatively...
Thanks. I saw the link. Thank you. Well, this is almost done, I think. We'll have a look at that next.
Or some more than others. In fact, one of the villages had basically no functioning electricity until the 2000s, and had no paved roads and, of course, no internet, no telephone connectivity. Now, that particular village was as developed as any I had seen in the wealthiest parts of Western Europe. Really remarkable transformation. But what struck me was that the way those transformations happened, and the way those transformations happened, guaranteed that those changes and those improvements in people's lives are not the result of state handouts, but they're sustainable and they're kind of self-reproducing. And so in this one particular village, what the party helped the local community to do is to set up a village cooperative where every resident of the village has one share in the cooperative. The cooperative then set up 3 businesses to deal with different things that are done in the village. One dealt with a particular kind of production that for export. Another dealt with developing the local tourism industry by building hotels, and another one dealt with managing the village infrastructure. And then you had the Communist Party at the township level, which effectively recruited a capitalist branding company to help the local community, make nice packaging and nice advertisements for their local goods. For example, I don't know, they had these fermented duck eggs and nice teas, and they had they had peach compotes, that kind of stuff that they produced in the village. And they recruited this company under the condition that the company would work directly in the village and would train the village community in the kinds of roles that were available, that were needed there. And so you effectively have a situation where a community of people who were subsistence farmers, and still to some extent are now shareholders in 3 corporations that they democratically manage, have access to a more or less corporate job without having to leave their village, which is reasonably well paid, and have the support of private capital, which is directed by the party to serve their interests and not the other way around. And so I think
that is fucking crazy. Did you guys hear that example just then? Like, I'm gonna have to fucking revise some of my theory on who controls labor here. But like, what they are doing there is like, so they've got they went to a village that was undeveloped. So let's just say it was still rather peasantry, subsistence level. Like they're living off the land, and in order to modernize them, instead of just bringing, capital to modernize the place and just like build it up and fuck off, like just to modernize it for the sake of modernizing it, actually integrate the community into the modernization. And so they find out what the locals do, what their industry is, I guess you would say, and they turn that into a capitalistic style enterprise. They bring in corporations or businesses that are able to make what they're doing into a capitalistic enterprise, like to make it something that is conducive to market forces, that so they can scale up to a point where they can sell it on the rest of the national market, the rest of the regional market, potentially. Who knows if it's fully national scale? Maybe it's just provincial level, I don't know. But they get people in, they direct capital and say, okay, you can do business with these people, but you have to teach them how to do business properly. They have a share in it, like they democratically seem to be participating in the system, and so they change over from being subsistence level to turning that into a capitalistic enterprise, like as in they're producing now commodities not for their own consumption but for trade and sale on the marketplace. And then they have a stake in that company and they earn money from it, and then other companies come in and like develop, like through like the hotel sectors, and like modernize the place itself, so people can start coming there, so they can get tourist money off it and start integrating into the rest of the Chinese economy. And again, the people that are in that village, they have stakes in the hotels. So like they are like sitting on the boards of it, and they get to control what happens in the local tourism industry. It's not just like fly in Chinese businessmen from Beijing or something like that that control it exactly. It's kind of mixed, but the locals have control over the economy. Like they have democratic participation in the businesses that have been set up there. So they have a connection to it. So it's not just, all right, the state will control capital, which is how I've understood it, is the state controls capital and capital controls labor. There's still an integration there. It's like a mixed version where there is both capital and participation from the people that are selling or using their labor power in the process, that are selling their labor in this process to make commodities. They have participation as well. It's not exclusive ownership, but they definitely are integrated with it. This is some crazy shit, man. This is some fucking crazy stuff. I can't believe it. Are you guys speaking about something on the side? Yeah, you have. You are, okay. This is how you transition from capitalism towards something socialistic. This is fucking crazy.
One of the central...
is Everlava still listening to this? This is it, man. This is the transition. Like, talking about, wanting to know about local governments and how they organize at the local level. That's how you turn a peasantry into, you turn them into a market, a player in the market society. It's crazy.
One of the things that is most important is that it's very clear to me that however many millionaires and billionaires there might be in China, as a result of the reform and opening up process, capital does not hold the reins of political processes. Capital is subordinated to political processes, and those political processes are structured to improve the living conditions of the vast majority of the Chinese people, and that is the fundamental difference, again, in the nature of or the structure of class within the state. Right? None of this would be possible in a capitalist society, whose very function, or in a capitalist state whose very function is to siphon wealth from those who produce it, from the workers, upwards to the owners of capital, and ultimately the bankers and financiers.
Well, Pavel Vargan, thank you so much for joining us on the China Report.
Damn.
I really encourage all our viewers to go read your and Jason's report. I think you can find it on...
Damn. Savage. Savage stuff there. The capitalists would never let that happen. No way. They'd never let the workers be integrated into the system to benefit off it as well as the interests of capital. It's like using capital for social purposes. They've got to have an end game. All right, so Washington, D.C., back to America. Right? Today in America, Washington, D.C. shootout. Do you reckon, like, you gotta question, like, in the age of Trump and like the staging of like the stunts, like propaganda by the deed, like, do you reckon they've put the National Guard out in places so they can be shot at? So like someone like Trump can be like, look, state of emergency, man, we're at war. We are at war. It's fucking on.
We have some more breaking news, Chevo, and 2 members of the US National Guard are among several people who've been shot in Washington, D.C. Let's go straight to Jeff Parry, who's live in the US now. Jeff, this happened just blocks from the White House.
Yes, Eddie, high drama in Washington. Shots rang out about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Washington time, just over an hour ago. The White House went into lockdown. It was 2 blocks away from them. They went into lockdown. Important to point out that
So it's just like when Pauline Hanson interrupted the Senate the other day. Everyone's just like, fuck it, we're not working. Like, someone gets shot in the street, like, in America. Like, let's be honest. Come on. It's not unusual. People playing with guns. And like all the politicians like, fuck it, I'm not working anymore. That's it. I'm out. I'm going. Wait until you hear the details on this one. Oh, man. Oh, so you know about this? Oh, man. Oh, what are the details? Tell me. Tell me the bad news. Like, is it staged, this stuff? Like, you have to ask, right? Like, this is perfect pretext now to, give Trump more of a license to do whatever the fuck he wants.
President Donald Trump is in Florida, so he wasn't in residence, and neither is J.D. Vance, the Vice President. He's in Kentucky meeting troops for Thanksgiving.
No. Are you serious? Mate, license to round everyone up now, right? Afghan refugee from a Biden-era immigration policy. Is that like legit, or is that the Fox News story? You know what? Let's get we'll get the Fox News story after this.
The 2 National Guardsmen were apparently outside a metro station when the shots rang out. The shooter himself, he was quickly contained and taken into custody. He believed he was taken down by police and other National Guards from the looks of some pictures that we've seen. So he's taken into custody and the scene is now settled down, if you like. But there were reports that medical services, the emergency medical services here, were working frantically on those 2 National Guardsmen. One was receiving CPR. The second had been put into an ambulance already and taken away from the scene. They're both in different hospitals. The President has just tweeted, he has been informed of the situation, and he's just tweeted that he's referred to the shooter as an animal who is in a critical condition himself, and that he will pay dearly for such a steep price. And he referred to both victims as in a critical...
The animal that shot the 2 National Guardsmen, with both being critically wounded and now in 2 separate hospitals, is also severely wounded, but regardless will pay a very steep price. Yes, they're going to spend all of the money necessary in their health system, all of the resources necessary to keep this person alive so they can pay a steep price. God bless our great National Guard, who I've sent out to die in the streets, and all our military and law enforcement. These are truly great people. I, as President of the United States, and everyone associated with this, with the office of the presidency, am with you.
Critical condition.
And just after a judge ruled that they have to send National Guard home after already overextending their stay, maybe not anymore. Like, we all know, supposedly the shooter naked? No, really? That's why they have Labor and Labor Light in the coalition. Oh, these are separate conversations. PSYOPs are a thing.
In hospital, and he expressed his prayers and thoughts for the National Guard. As to motive, well, The president's not in town for a start. It's not known whether it's political. It's probably just crime. The National Guard were put on the streets some months ago by presidential order because of crime in Washington, and he wanted to bring that down, and we've seen that happen in other cities. In Washington, of course, the National Guard
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. We know the fucking story. We've been on this one for a while now.
2 National Guard members shot this afternoon less than a mile from the White House, and we're now can report they have died. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey announcing the news on X, writing in part, "It is with great sorrow that we can confirm both members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot earlier today in Washington, D.C. have passed away from their injuries. These brave West Virginians lost their lives in service of their country." President Trump condemning the act, writing on True Social.
Servicing their country? What, being deployed by Trump to clean up criminals, like, which they... Should they have even been there in the first place? If one of those guards died, oofed. Bro, they both died. They're both dead.
Social. The animal that shot the 2 National Guardsmen is also severely wounded, but regardless will pay a very steep price.
I just read that this may not be true. They misreported some details earlier. But, like, you know, once the story, you know, is out there kind of thing, don't worry about it.
God bless our great National Guard of Florida at his Mar-a-Lago estate while the White House is in lockdown. And FBI Director Kash Patel says the FBI is engaged.
It was first reported that they died, then it changed. Oh, okay. Because, like, this is 6 hours old. The one that we watched before was, I think, a little bit older, actually.
And assisting with the investigation, Fox News correspondent Mark Meredith is on the scene, and he joins us now. Mark, what's the update?
Joey, good afternoon. A tragedy unfolding right here on the streets of D.C., as you mentioned, just a few blocks away from the White House. The latest news coming from the governor of West Virginia, the commander-in-chief of the West Virginia National Guard, confirming that 2 of his service members have been killed on the streets of Washington, D.C. This attack happening a few minutes before 3 p.m. this afternoon outside of the Farragut West Metro Station. That's one of the more popular stations here in D.C., 3 different train lines that run through. This was also an attack that appeared to happen just outside of the station. I was hearing from a source who had a good vantage point from this, where you could see that those service members were simply right outside of a bus station. It was like a glass enclosure in addition to where the actual train station is, and that's where it appears those gunshots occurred. The suspect also in custody. No update yet on his condition, but you can imagine here the tremendous loss that the entire city of D.C. as well as our neighbors in West Virginia are also facing right now. Where this attack occurred is also very important because of the symbolic of it. We're just so close to the White House. The National Guard deployments have been a huge moment for the Trump administration. They've made it their mission to try to clean up the crime in D.C., and there's been a lot of political controversy, Joey, with
the alleged shooter of 2 National Guardsmen near the White House has been identified as 29-year-old Ramunullah Lakanwal, who arrived in the US in 2021 during the US government's chaotic withdrawal from the region under Operation Allies Welcome, law enforcement sources told the New York Post. Lakanwal was allegedly lying in wait before turning the corner near the Farragut West Metro Station in northwest DC around 2:15 p.m. before opening fire at a female guard, shooting her in the chest and then in the head, according to law enforcement sources speaking to the Post. Lakanwal then struck the second guard, which prompted a third nearby guard to open fire 4 times on the 29-year-old, according to a report in the New York Post. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has announced an extra 500 National Guardsmen will be deployed to Washington, D.C. following a horrific shooting which left 2 guards in a critical condition.
Very productive meetings, but I want to start by saying after those meetings, myself and my team were notified that 2 National Guardsmen have been shot in Washington, D.C., critically wounded. The shooting.
Yeah, fucking targets. You guys have put targets on the streets for people now. I wonder if they feel like guilty at all for this. Like these coming up with these ideas of just throwing people on the streets. Putting National Guard members on the streets. I wonder if they feel anything for it. Team Cars are going to be entertaining today. Haha, America. Hey. Technically, the National Guard is deployed to defend federal buildings and assist law enforcement. Just by the letter of the law? I don't know, man. Like, protecting federal buildings, yeah, okay, fine. Like, they technically can. But this was about fighting crime. You can hear it in his voice. Perfect press op. Yeah. He hasn't been fucking ready for this at all. Waiting for this. That's probably just the bait, right? They just put him out there. And it's like, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. They're going to interact with the public somehow. And something bad will go down, and we will have a reason. Just dangle them out there. It'll come eventually.
Shooter shot in a cowardly, dastardly act targeting the best of America.
The best of America.
Heroes willing to serve in Washington, D.C., serve for people they don't know and they've never met because they love their country and their capital and their community. They were willing to do dangerous things others were not because they love their fellow Americans. Someone decided to turn that into targeting National Guardsmen. That will only stiffen our resolve. We will never back down. We will secure our capital. We will secure our cities. In fact, this happened just steps away from the White House. It will not stand. And that's why President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C.
Oh, they're not getting rid of the troops now. There you go. It's been told. It has been said, let it be known. The troops are staying. Actually, we're going to beef it up a little bit. Twice as many troops means twice as many chance for these types of opportunities. Hey, I like those odds. I'm not saying that's all they're doing, but that's the legislation they cite to justify the deployment. Yeah, we investigated all the legislation. You were probably here when we had a look at all of it. But like they've also brought in special powers, or like they've interpreted the law in a particular way. So like that's the beauty of the legal system, right? And how you interpret what it's really, how it's supposed to be applied. All right, I have to leave it here today. I have to go a little bit earlier today. But like, you know, thank you everybody for coming along today. It's been quite the ride. We've covered some fucking crazy territory. Oh my God, have we? So I'm going to try and capture everyone, but I can't go back all the way. But Goran Squad was in, Dilemmas in the house, Voltateur. David was in the house too. Dilemmas non-stop today. Ninja Nurse. Good to have you. Razor was in the house too. Jag, thanks again for your very generous subbing today. Do appreciate it. Avalavo in the house. And Dr. Nathan was here earlier. Larp Jeff. We had JP Cheese Swiss in the house. Just here to watch a trash fire coming in as well. 4AS was here for a little bit. Tiny bit. Squeebalicious. Jungle Potatoes in the house. Gumma Cheese Wing was here also for a bit. Anton coming back. Repeat offender. People are going to start talking. Matt Bond. It's good to have everyone. There's been some lively debate going on the side too. Seems to be a mainstay. Barnaby quit the Nationals. Oh my God. There you go. There you go. All right. He's just a stone's throw away now from becoming One Nation. We'll see how that goes. We will see how that goes. But yes, thank you everyone. And Jag, yes. Mystery movement. There it is. Nice use there. We got some good emojis going on in Twitch world. But yes, thank you everybody for your interactions. Do appreciate it. Enjoy your evenings, your afternoons, wherever you're coming from. And then tomorrow we're going to be down for a Far Right Friday where we're going to be able to see into the world that inspired Super Progressive, the movie. So we can prep for its big release on Australia Day in January. I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, wherever you're tuning in from. And until then, please remember, I am, you are, we are a mystery.